Hey guys, howdy! I hope you're fine. As you've seen in the thumbnail, in this video we are going to see if Naruto gets Tsunade pregnant. Part 2 and last part, and before getting into video, I request you to check the author of this fanfic and show some love and support. Name of the story is Naruto Kawarita by Mother Witch Bitch. Do check it out. All details in description. And if you want next part of this series, please leave a like and comment 7 stars. Let's get into the video. Also check out Patreon for uncensored spicy content. Link in description. Naruto waits at the designated training grounds for the rest of his team. He breathes in and mindfully tries to internally filter Kurama's chakra. He's close to being able to take out all of the power boosting properties in the pure chakra, seeing as the power boosts come at the cost of ripping apart the cells which the chakra heals just as fast if not faster. At least that's how it works for him. Everyone else isn't used to the foreign chakra raising through their network, so the destructive power runs faster than the healing. It's been almost a week since the hospital incident with the old hag, and he's been avoiding her ever since. Kakashi has also been looking for him. He's successfully avoided both of them, but he can't avoid the Cyclops any longer. Team 7 is officially back on duty and expected to start training and taking missions again. When Kakashi gets close enough, he smells the change in the air, but doesn't acknowledge it. For once in his life, Kakashi is early. So early, in fact, that he beat both Sasuke and Sakura to the training grounds. He can feel the Cyclops eye on him, and he can't help but wiggle uncomfortably at his words. "You're here early. I could say the same thing about you," Naruto mutters, opening his eyes. Kakashi probably already knows that he's been training with Guy Sensei in the mornings and doesn't feel the need to go over it. They stare at each other for several minutes before Kakashi decides to be the adult and break the silence. "You've been avoiding me, Naruto. I've been busy." Naruto huffs, on high alert. Kakashi has never cared enough to come looking for him before, and he's not sure what's changed now. When Naruto doesn't offer anything more up, Kakashi prods a little. "I heard you've been training with Asuma and Guy." "Yep." Naruto can feel the sweat start to form on his back and hands. This is probably where he was either going to get beat up or threatened. That's what usually happens. You should tell your mother if he does. Kurama growls. They get him killed. Naruto rubs his neck. She has a temper. Even though he's been avoiding her, he has heard tales of her beating up shinobi and threatening villagers that speak out against him. He knows he should probably be grateful, but he worries that this will cause the villagers to react poorly. Maybe he should die. Kurama pulls Naruto closer to his body, like he was trying to protect the boy from the world. Kakashi's temper flares a little seeing how Naruto's distracted already. "Why haven't you come to me for training?" Naruto snaps out of his conversation with Kurama and stares up at Kakashi incredulous. "Every time I asked, you were busy training Sasuke." Slapped with the truth, Kakashi thinks back to every time that he's pushed both Naruto's and Sakura's training to the side to help Sasuke. He hadn't realized he was going it. He just wanted to spend time with the last living connection to his old team he has. "After team training today, I have some time. We could train together one-on-one." Naruto tries to fight his disinterest, but it's a losing battle. "I have plans for after training." "What plans?" Kakashi asks, surprised Naruto isn't jumping at his offer. "Asuma Onaizen is going to show me something." Naruto hates the interest he's showing. Something that feels an awful lot like jealously fills Kakashi. Naruto is his student. He should be the one training him. The one Naruto should want to be trained by. At the same time, it's his own fault. If he had been willing to train Naruto, like he should have from the beginning, he wouldn't be seeking another teacher. "Maybe we can get dinner tonight, then?" "Sorry," Naruto mutters, faking a smile. He really doesn't want to spend any more time with Kakashi than necessary. Kakashi kicks a rock away as he watches Sasuke and Sakura walking up to the training grounds. He needs to put more effort in training Sakura too. Maybe he can train her today and Naruto tomorrow after the mission. "Tomorrow, then?" "I don't think so, Kakashi." Naruto stands up and stretches, keeping his eyes on his two teammates. He finds it best to always be aware of where the people are that openly hate him. "Dope, sensei." Sasuke glares at Naruto and nods to Kakashi. "Kakashi sensei." Sakura just ignores him, and honestly, he doesn't care. He only has to be with this team for another 5 months. Then he can make Chunin and get separate missions. He's still kicking himself for holding back with Niji in the third test. He was trying to conserve chakra and thought fighting him in a taijutsu match while using Kurama's chakra to keep his tenketsu from closing would be a good way to show how he can strategize. The look on Niji's face was priceless as his attacks were rendered useless. He images that he'll have to watch out for the Hyugas for a while. Today we're going to do something a little different. Kakashi give them a nice smile. Sakura, you need to work on your stamina and taijutsu. I have recommended you to the Medical Ninja Corps, which you will be going after training today. Sakura's smile fills her face, and she looks to Sasuke, looking for validation, which he doesn't give her. Sasuke, you have a choice. You can either learn another lightning-style jutsu today, or a fire. Sasuke is confident that he can find all the fire-style jutsu he'll need in the Uchiha libraries. Lightning. Kakashi nods and turns to Naruto. I thought today we could learn what affinity you have today, Naruto. Kakashi is hopeful to get the boy excited. He really should have done this before the Chunin exams, but he was too single-minded. I already know my affinity already. Naruto is already prepared for the looks of mistrust that Sasuke and Sakura direct at him, and he could have sensed the disappointment from Kakashi from a mile away. Well, he starts, not prepared for that answer. If you tell me what it is, I can help you learn some jutsu for it. Onaizen is helping me with it. Naruto rubs his neck. I can help Sakura practice her taijutsu, though. You don't have a brother, dumbass. Sakura yells before Kakashi can open his mouth. Monsters don't have families. Kakashi sighs and glares at his two students. They're glaring at his blonde one. I think we've had just about enough of talk like that. You guys are teammates, and it's not just enough to act like teammates during a fight. You guys need to have each other's backs in all aspects of life. Naruto has saved both of your lives, just like Sasuke's saved Naruto's. Kakashi looks the three down, and it's only Sasuke that looks like he's not taking him seriously. He will have to keep an eye on him. Let's get started. Tsunade would rather be burned alive than spend another week like she has. After what she felt was an emotional breakthrough with her beautiful little boy, they seem to have taken several steps back. She hasn't seen him in almost a week, and she is reaching her breaking point. Shizen keeps telling her to give Naruto time, that he's not used to having a mother that cares for him, and that he's just tried to process it. Her patience is wearing thin, though, and would have been gone after the first day if she didn't have a Suma around reporting back to her that he's safe and healthy. The Sarutobi keeps telling her that Naruto's never been very good with his emotions, that he tends to run from them whenever they come up. That only makes her want to hold him closer and never let him go. In fact, she's decided that if she doesn't see him at Ichiraku's tonight, she's not going to rest until she has him in her arms. Signing the last document for the day, Tsunade puts it in her outbox. She grabs her green jacket and storms out of her office. Lady Hokage. Shizen gathers some papers in her hands and follows the older blonde. Have you finished your paperwork? I have. Tsunade snaps, not appreciating being questioned. She knows that in the past, she hasn't exactly been known for being responsible, but ever since Naruto has come back in her life, she's stepped up to the plate. Where are you going? Shizen stops, knowing that she is not welcome to follow. To see Naruto, she grits out. Her beautiful little brat is done hiding, and she will break every wall and every door until she finds him. Hiding from her is unacceptable, and it will not be happening again, ever. After training with the Suma that night, Naruto goes to eat at his favorite ramen shop. Thinking about his wallet, Naruto is glad that he met Tsuchi and Ayam all those years ago. They understand that sometimes he runs out of money because he has to buy clothes and stuff. The stupid demon tax breaks his bank faster than anything else. When that happens, they let him wash dishes for his dinner. He would have starved long ago if not for them. When he smells her perfume in the breeze, he sidesteps into the alley. Not that she probably doesn't already know he's heading in her direction. He can't believe she's waiting here for him again. He's officially out of all the food in his pantry, and he can't buy more until after the mission tomorrow. He bangs his head against the brick and tries to think of what to do. Onaizen would be willing to feed him, but he's on a date with Kurenai tonight, and he wouldn't feel right just breaking into his apartment. He can't exactly go home. She'll just show up there later like she did yesterday. He had to sneak out the back because he hated hearing her beg him to let him in. Luckily, he had mastered hiding his chakra signature years ago. It was one of the first things Obasan taught him. He could go and sleep in his clearing again, but there's a chance his Onaizen told her about it. He doesn't exactly approve of how Naruto is approaching the situation. Naruto isn't really sure how else he can approach it though. Usually he would just try to push through and ignore his feelings, but he can't seem to in this situation. Just walk out there, Naruto. Kurama doesn't even bother to open his eyes. What's the worst that can happen? I don't know. And that's exactly the problem. Naruto huffs. She doesn't react how I expect her to. Usually people are glad when they go days without seeing me, but she just comes looking. I don't understand why she wants to see me. For the same reason as Buwako and Asuma. He grumbles. She cares about you. Maybe Naruto has been leaning more to that side after this past week. What do you think she'll say if I go out? If it were me, I would knock some sense into you. Kurama swats him with his tail. Thinking you could avoid me for so long. A week's not that long. Naruto sighs. I just don't know what to say to her. Kurama just grumbles about silly humans and goes back to sleep. He can smell her moving closer to him. She's probably sensed him. He has a choice now. Either he can run or stay and wait for her to find him. He blows the hair out of his eyes and waits. It's not long before she's standing at the entrance to the alley and he glances over at her. She's standing there and she seems relieved to see him. She looks just the same as always, but her eyes look pained. Despite knowing better, he hopes he didn't put that look in her eyes. Hi. It's the only thing he can think of to say because he can't talk the silence between them. It seems to break her out of her reverie and she rushes him, causing him to tense. Thankfully, she stops before she grabs him with her arms outstretched, like she wants to hold him. He thinks he should probably give her a hug or something. He thinks that's what you're supposed to do when you apologize. It's what he would do with his obeisance. Are you okay? I haven't seen you for a while, and I was worried. I am sorry. Naruto starts. I was sure how to. Breaks off. Not sure how to end the sentence. Just don't do it again, okay? She sounds like her heart's been ripped out of her chest, and that hurts Naruto. I'll try. He pushes off the wall, so he's standing right in front of her. I'm sorry. Tentatively, he reaches out, and that's all Tsunade needs before she wraps him in her arms. She's running her fingers through his hair, and he buries his nose in her neck. I missed you so much. She whispers into his ear. She hugs him for longer than he's comfortable with, but he figures he owes her a little. She only pulls away when she hears his stomach grumble. She laughs a little and cups his cheek. Let's go get you some ramen, yeah? Naruto rubs the back of his neck. I like that. Tsunade grabs his arm and pulls him back into the streets and towards the stand. You're much too thin. She glares at him a little. You need to start eating more. Naruto. A little defensive, Naruto bites back. I do the best I can. It wasn't a criticism. Her look softens and Naruto feels a little bad. I just worry about you. Naruto doesn't know what to say as they enter the ramen stand. She seems to be telling the truth, and it doesn't feel as weird as he thinks it should. They sit at the counter, and Tucci takes their orders. Naruto taps his finger against the counter. It's making him very nervous how she's just staring at him, like she's trying to memorize his face. He racks his brain, try to think of what to say. So, how have you been? Tsunade hums and stills his fingers with her hand. Not too good. My favorite blonde has been avoiding me all week. Sorry about that. You should have seen that coming with how she reacted in the alley. She hums again. How has your training been going? Asuma is a big help. He keeps his voice low so no one else can hear him. I mastered one of the jutsus he taught me. He figures she already knows about the wind chakra, even though she hasn't said anything, so that doesn't give too much away. I'm proud of you. Tsunade smiles, and it lifts Naruto's heart. Thanks. Naruto bows his head to hide his blush. The silence returns when they are handed their food. As soon as he's finished the first bowl, another is placed in front of him. Even after going through several bowls, Tsunade hasn't made a comment on how much he's eating. Usually by now, people are complaining that he's a glutton and needs to stop. It's bothering him that she's not saying anything so much that he turns to her. Why haven't you said anything about me eating too much? By now, most people have. Tsunade just smiles and resists the urge to run her fingers through his hair. It's a feeling she's become quite addicted to. That, and holding him close with his face pressed against her neck. I know how much chakra it takes to keep the seal working. You need all the calories you can get. Yeah. Naruto stands up, and Tsunade moves to follow him. No one seems to understand that. Tsunade is afraid the evening is coming to a close when, instead of leaving the shop, he moves to walk around the counter. Where are you going, Naruto? Tsunade is confused, which causes her little boy to blush a cute pink again. When I don't have money to pay, the old man lets me do the dishes for food. Naruto won't look at her, and Tsuchi turns around. Naruto will never go hungry as long as I'm around. His hands clasp Naruto's shoulder as he smiles at the boy. If only he would learn to take the food for free. I keep telling him the village hero shouldn't have to pay. Tsunade reaches into her pocket and pulls out her wallet. Well, I can pay for his food from now on. She takes several bills out and places them on the bar. That should be enough for today. Can I set up a tab for when Naruto comes here without me? You don't have to do that. Naruto exclaims, conflicted that she would do this for him. I want to. Tsunade leaves no room for arguing as she fills out the paper Tsuchi gives her. She will have to find a way to thank this man and his daughter for helping her little boy over the years. It makes her feel better knowing that the times he went hungry were probably not as often as her mind imagined. She looks up, and her baby looks so confused. Eventually, she hopes he realizes that she will do anything for him. Let me walk you home. Naruto hesitates before answering. Okay. Together, they walk down the streets towards his apartment. I heard you had a team training today. How'd that go? It was okay. Naruto looks up at the stars. Kakashi asked me more questions and showed more interest in me today than he ever has before. It was kind of weird. I might have lectured him a little, Tsunade admits with no shame. He was very upset that both Asuma and Guy know more about your abilities than he does. Naruto looks down at the ground. It's not like he's cared in the past. Every time we are out on a mission, I set up a perimeter with Seal. He's just never taken the time to notice. I think he'll be paying more attention from now on. Tsunade hums. Even if he does, I don't want his help. Naruto, eyes narrow. That's understandable. Tsunade agrees. Asuma says that he can't help you reach your full potential though. You're gonna have to get help from someone. Yeah. Naruto glances over at her. Maybe you can help sometime. Tsunade's heart is soaring and she struggles to keep composed. I'm not ready for that yet, but I will be eventually. I'll wait as long as you need me to. Tsunade walks him the rest of the way home. The silence is killing Tsunade. This past week was emotionally unbearable, and she doesn't think she'll survive another. She walks him up the steps to his door, and they just stand there. Part of her is afraid that if she leaves, she won't see him again. We're going to get dinner tomorrow. Tsunade doesn't give him room to argue, and when he averts his eyes, she lifts his chin so she can look into his baby blues. Tomorrow at 6:30. Okay, we're getting a mission tomorrow. I'm not sure when we'll be done. Naruto mutters, don't worry. Tsunade mentally goes over all the available missions for the next day. You will be done in time. The next day, Naruto gets up early and heads over to the Hokage's office after getting some ramen. He figured last night he should probably apologize to Shizen too. Avoiding the incubator meant avoiding her too, and he felt bad about that. He has noticed this past week that the whispering around the village in his wake has changed slightly. Now, in addition to the normal name calling and threats, they're muttering about how the Hokage is defensive of him and what that means. Most of the speculations are way off, and some of them make him a little sick. He's pretty sure if the incubator finds out, there will be hell to pay. His eyes are drawn to a family he sees in the market. The father is holding his little boy on his hip, while the mother wipes syrup off of his face. They're laughing together, and the father gives the mother a little kiss on the side of her head. A picture-perfect family. It makes him wonders, maybe if his sperm donor hadn't died and his incubator hadn't left, if they would have been like that. Probably not, as his life never goes that way. But it's nice to think about. Naruto goes into the tower and takes a deep breath. Nerves crawl under his skin, making him itch his cheek. He lets out the breath he seems to be holding when he sees black-haired medic walking down to the second floor from the third. Naruto hurries and meets her just as she's stepping onto the landing between the two floors. She has a huge stack of papers that she's balancing in her arms, blocking her eyes, and struggles to keep them all from falling over. She seems to be struggling a little, and he smiles at his opportunity. Can I help you? Shizen jumps in surprise, and the tower of papers careen towards the floor. Naruto reaches out and steadies it as Shizen peeks out from behind. Naruto? Her look of pure joy makes him feel guilty, and he takes half the stack. Hi. She seems to be standing there in shock, and he shifts from one foot to the other in discomfort. Where have you been? Her eyebrows draw together, and he knows that if her hands were free, they'd be on her hips. Avoiding Granny. Naruto admit as they start walking down the stairs. Shizen presses her lips together and bumps him with her hips. She's been worried about you. You better go see she right away. I saw her last night. She was upset. He places the papers down on the table next to Shizun's, his shoulders slumped. She hasn't slept all week, and she kept asking me if you stopped by. It won't happen again. Naruto promises, looking up at her. We're having dinner tonight. Do you want to come? Naruto's fears that she'll reject him are quickly put to rest when Shizen nods her head emphatically. Of course. Shizen clutches some papers to her chest. I have to get back to work, but I'll see you tonight, all right? Naruto nods his head and watches her leave. Maybe having her there would help his nerves. Probably not. Naruto walks down the halls and decides to wait outside the briefing room for the rest of his team. Naruto's team shows up too soon for his liking. Sasuke gives him his usual glare, but Sakura's isn't as hateful as usual. He stays sitting against the wall, sketching out a seal he's trying to design. He knows all of the symbols he needs to temporarily seal someone's Dijitsu, but he's not quite sure how to weave the chakra in the seal. He also has to figure out how to place a seal by touch. A piece of paper would easily be torn off, and there is no way Sasuke will stay still long enough for him to draw one on him. When he smells Kakashi enter the building, he puts the notebook away. The chances of Kakashi disapproving of what he's doing is high. After all, Sasuke is his prized pupil, and devising a way to take him down probably isn't something he would approve. Naruto stands up and stretches. He has prepared himself for what will probably be AD rank mission, as it's the only way the Hokage can ensure that he is finished by dinner. Together team walks into the briefing room. Tsunade's eyes flick over everyone before they rank over Naruto. He squirms a little, still not comfortable with her concern for his safety. Team 7, today your mission is to transport and inventory crops from the Tanaka farm to the village storehouse. According to the request, you are to pick up 200 crates. Tsunade grabs 2 scrolls and tosses them to Kakashi. The payment is in there. We usually receive a much higher shipment, and we need you to ask about that. It should take no longer than a day. Hi, Hoket-sama. The team agrees as they take the scrolls and leave. Naruto looks back and gives the older blonde a timid smile, which she returns. It takes the team about 30 minutes to get to the farm, and old man Tanaka leads them to the barn as he opens the scroll. This amount will not do, Kakashi. He looks at the silver-haired ninja in concern. This is a tenth of what the produce is worth. Where's the rest of the money? This is the amount the Hokage approved of for 200 crates of food. Kakashi explains, not looking forward to arguing with the man. 200 crates? Tanaka throws the doors open. The request was for 2,000. The barn is full to the brim with crates, and Naruto looks at work in dread. There is no way that they're going to get done by the end of the day. His heart starts hurting at the thought of disappoint both medics again. Plus, he made a promise, and he never goes back on his word. There must have been a clerical error. We'll have to get permission from the Hokage for the increase. Kakashi mutters, looking at the crates in dread. I'll go. I have an idea. Naruto starts, pulling out a piece of paper from his notebook and handing it to Kakashi. Write a note to the old lady explaining everything. Naruto flashes through hand signs before biting his thumb. There's a small poof of smoke, and then an orange toad pops up. We can have Gamakichi deliver it to her and bring back the increased funds. Good idea, Naruto. Kakashi smirks as Sasuke and Sakura grumbling. Do you have any ideas about how to deliver all these supplies? Well, Naruto glances at Sakura and Sasuke before resigning himself. I figure I can create gravity seals to make the crates lighter. Then, instead of carrying 75 crates on a cart, we can carry about 330 on a cart. So 6 trips, about 6 hours give or take. Kakashi takes in the new information. He'll have to work harder to figure out just for advance the boy's Fuinjutsu is. Plus however long it takes you to finish all the seals. It takes me about 5 minutes to finish one and can use 25 shadow clones to get 300 done in an hour. I've also been working on shadow cloning objects, and I think I can pull off creating 2 more cart. So we'll need 990 seals. Naruto rubs the back of his head. They can just reuse the old ones once they finish a trip. I'll take me like 3 hours to finish all the seals, which you guys can take inventory in that time. We should be done by 4. Kakashi eyebrows raise, surprised at his student. You can clone the carts? I think so. I'll just take a lot of concentration and chakra. Naruto confirms. Like the dope can pull this off. Sasuke disdain radiates off him. We need another plan. Yeah, Sasuke-kun is right. Sakura agree emphatically. Naruto can't pull this off. Kakashi gives his students the side eye as he writes his note to the Hokage. He's going to have to work really hard to fix his team. If only he had done something in the first place, but he had honestly thought that once they started working together and got to know one another that everything would work itself out. I think we should give it a try. What am I supposed to do? Gamakichi looking up at Naruto. Naruto takes the scroll of Gamakichi. Can you give this to the Hokage for me? He swats down and offers the scroll. Then bring back the scroll she'll give you. Gamakichi considers the request and then smiles. Only if you give me treats after. Naruto glares back. It always came down to treats with this one. He never thought of anything else. It'll have to wait until after the mission, but I'll get you some treats. Deal. Gamakichi grabs the scroll and hops off. Naruto smiles and looks over at his teammates. Time to get started. He brings his hands together and 24 copies of Naruto pop. Completely in sync, all of the blondes sit down and pull out pieces of paper and ink. Kakashi smiles down at his blonde student and then at the other two. Now, the question is, how are we going to get the inventory done in 3 hours? Shadow clones, of course. Sasuke mutters looking at Naruto. He can't believe the village demon knows Fuinjutsu. It takes years to learn, and that's with a teacher. Naruto has to be doing it alone because no sane shinobi would teach the demon such an important skills. I can make 2 shadow clones. Sakura volunteers. 3 for me. Sasuke glares in jealousy towards Adobe. And I'll make 5. Kakashi confirms, forming the hand seals and several copies of him poof into existence. By the time Naruto gets done with the seals, we should have about 1,200 done. Then Naruto, Sasuke, and I can start transferring the crates while Sakura finishes the count with the shadow clones. Hi, Kakashi-sensei. Sasuke and Sakura agree, forming their own shadow clones and getting to work. An hour later, Gamakichi hops back and lands on Naruto's head. He drops 2 scrolls and settles himself in Naruto's hair. The Hokage gave those to me to give to you. The bigger one has the money and the smaller one is for you. Thanks. Naruto stands up and walks over to the barn. Granny sent more money with Gamakichi. The blonde looks at Kakashi, who nods, and Naruto throws the scroll to Tanaka. She's also extending the mission to 3 days instead of 1. Gamakichi interjects, looking at all the clones. But I don't think that's going to be necessary. Yeah, Naruto agrees, going back to where he was sitting before. We'll get this done today. Once on the ground, he pulls out the letter his incubator sent him. Sweetheart, I realize with your mission being extended, you won't be able to make dinner tonight, so we can move it for after your mission is over. I also wanted to thank you for inviting Shizen. It means a lot to her. Stay safe. Love you, baby. Naruto runs his fingers over the letters. Warmth fills his chest, and he grins. He made a promise to her that they would have dinner tonight, and he never goes back on his word. He slips the scroll into his pack and sits back down before going back to creating the seals. Tsunade's head falls down with a thud against her paperwork. Her sense of urgency to complete it has waned since learning that Naruto isn't going to make it to dinner. The whole reason she chose that mission for him was so that he would be home for dinner. If she knew it was going to be expanded by a couple of days, she never would have given it to him. She doesn't think that it's too much to ask just to have her little boy close to her all the times after being apart for so long. She's broken from her thoughts when Shizen knocks on her door before poking her head in. Kakashi is here to report on the mission. Tsunade perks up when she hears this. Maybe they were able to finish the mission today, after all, and she's about to see her favorite blonde. Her heart speeds up when the doors creak open. When her eyes fail to find her baby, she deflates. The silver-haired ninja slouches in with his hands in his pockets. Mission complete, Hokage-sama. Kakashi hands over the scroll with the inventory. I was expecting this to take until at least tomorrow. Tsunade mutters as she looks over the scroll. It's all because of Naruto. Kakashi smirks. He created some gravity seals to make the crates lighter with shadow clones and a shadow clone technique to make 2 extra carts. He was very determined to get it done today. Shadow clone technique? On the carts? Tsunade smiles. It seems he's mastered the cloning technique to an impressive degree. Kakashi affirms. I can't even clone anything bigger than Kuni. Tsunade hums and looks out the window towards her little boy's apartment. Where is he now? I sent all 3 of them home. Kakashi explains. They're all tired from today. Naruto looks dead on his feet. Her heart clenches at the thought of her child all alone. That will be all. Tsunade dismisses him and attacks her paperwork with new gusto. As soon as she finishes, she's going to go pick up the food in the crock pot and take it to her son. She's not going to take no for an answer. She will make him let her into his apartment, even if she has to break down the door. For the next half hour, Tsunade flies through her paperwork. She knows she has to be responsible and finish everything before she can go to her baby, but she hates every minute of it. In her mind's eyes, she can see him passed out in the entryway of his apartment, too tired to make it to the couch or bed. He's probably starving to death because he doesn't have the energy to get any food. The rational part of her brain knows she's overreacting, but the motherly part worries nonetheless. Just like the day before, when she finishes the last form, she puts it in the outbox, grabs her jacket, and then throws open the door, only to stop dead in her tracks. Her little boy is curled up on one of the waiting room couch with drool dripping down his cheek. He worked much too hard today. She tiptoes closer and kneels down next to him. Shizen comes up behind her and whispers, he showed up about 10 minutes ago, asking if I had any treats he could give Gamakichi. Tsunade wipes the drool away. Why didn't you tell me he was here? She runs her fingers through his hair. She's fallen in love with her the coarse blonde strands feel against her skin. He asked me not to. Shizen switches her weight from foot to foot. That he was early for dinner and could wait. Next time, tell me. Tsunade whispers, her thumb stroking his whiskered cheeks. Naruto purrs and his eyes crack open. Are you ready for dinner? His eyes squeeze shut again and moans. Headache, baby. She performs a healing jutsu and places her glowing hand on his forehead. Yes. He breathes. At the touch, the pain starts to recede and he nuzzles into the relief. Tsunade's smile grows as she watches her precious baby. You used too many shadow clones. Creating seal requires a lot of concentration, and while shadow clones are useful to get things done, using too much in this way can cause migraines and mental exhaustion. Normally, Naruto would get defensive, thinking that she was scolding him, but the tone of her voice just makes him want to sleep. I know. Usually I try to limit how many clones I use at once for training and stuff, but Tsunade hums her agreement before muttering to him. Kakashi told me about the mission. You were very impressive. Naruto tries to hide a smile. It was the only way I was going to make it to dinner. We could have rescheduled. She takes his headband off so she can brush his hair back easier. I would have understood. Naruto's eyes flutter shut. I never go back on my word. Tsunade kisses his forehead. Can I carry you home? We can feed you. I can walk. Naruto hauls himself into a sitting position and stretches his back. His eyes barely open when he stands. Shizen stifles a giggle. What do you want to eat, Naruto? Hopefully he'll like what she has in the crock pot. I don't care. Naruto yawns as Tsunade guides him down the halls with her hand on his back. He practically sleepwalks as he drags his feet and his stomach aches. Kurama told him to eat before he came, but he was afraid that he would fall asleep as soon as his stomach was full. Then he would have missed their dinner, and he would have made her sad again. For some reason, that's that last thing he wants to do. Not that he usually makes a habit of hurting people. Usually the pain he causes is unintentional. For most, it's just his presence, and there isn't much he can do about that besides leaving them alone. This is different though, because she hurts when he's not around. He doesn't want her to hurt, and he hasn't felt this way about another person in a long time. Granny opens the doors to what he assumes is the Hokage apartments, and he follows her inside. The smell of food makes his stomach roar to life, and his eyes shoot open. That smells good. I made saba shioyaki, nakujiga, sunamono, miso soup, and genmai in the crock pots after I heard you wouldn't be joining us. Tsunade explains as she hurries to make him a plate as he falls into a chair at the table. The blonde finds his energy returning when the plates are set down in front of him. He has missed meals like this since they returned to the village. If Granny to one thing, she always makes sure he has enough food. He wolfs down the fish and vegetables, taking care not to choke. Every time he finishes a plate, another is placed in front of him, and he can't be more grateful. Eventually, Shizen excuses herself and leaves the two blondes to themselves. Naruto eventually slows down and his body grows heavy. All he wants to do is go to sleep, but the last thing he wants to do is to go home. When he's this tired, sometimes he doesn't wake up when the alarm seals are activated, and that has only spelled trouble for him in the past. He looks up at chocolate eyes that seem to just be soaking him in. If he stays here, he wouldn't have to worry about sleeping too soundly because his mother would be keeping him safe. Remember how it felt to be wrapped in her strong arms makes him want to do it again. He didn't have any nightmares the week he spent sleeping in her arms. He usually had one every other day, and he would definitely have one tonight with how tired he is. "Can I sleep here tonight?" Naruto whispers, afraid to look at her and see her refuse him. Tsunade lifts his chin up and gives him a soft smile. "You're always welcome to stay here, baby. You don't need to ask." Naruto nods his head as heat rises to his cheeks. It baffles him how much she cares about him. Tsunade takes his hand and leads him further into the apartment before stopping at a door. She pushes it open and Naruto sees a room with gray-blue walls and carpet with multicolored squares under the bed. The bed's comforter is blue with the occasional red stripe. There's scrolls and books about ninjutsu, fuinjutsu, and medical jutsu on the bookshelves. What looks like new ninja tools are on the table, and Naruto just stands there in wonder. This is everything he's ever wanted. "I made it for you when we came back to the village in case you wanted to move in with us." Naruto can feel the nerves coming off his mother. She's afraid he doesn't like it. It's perfect. Naruto breathes, and Tsunade walks into the room to show him where his PJs are. Naruto can feel the heat take over his face. "I was wondering if I could sleep in your bed." His voice is quiet, and part of him hopes she doesn't hear him. Tsunade gives him an understanding smile as she grabs him a part of clothes and walks up to him. "You're always welcome in my room." She cups his face, and he leans into it. They walk further into the hall, and Tsunade opens the door to her room and shows him the bathroom. Naruto gets dressed before jumping into bed. He waits for his mother, who comes out of the closet in her own jammies. Naruto feels bad about making her go to sleep before 7, but the selfish part of him doesn't care. The older blonde slips into bed, and Naruto doesn't waste any time curling up next to her. She wraps her arms around him, and he can feel her lips in his hair. Sleep calls to him as his eyes drift shut, and the last thing he hears is "I love you." Naruto wakes up sometime during the night. From the way that his mother's breathing, he can tell that she's awake too. She always seems to wake up before him. He's not sure if it's because she just doesn't sleep or because she has some sort of sixth sense. He loves that she cares enough to be so in sync with him in this way. It's completely silent except for the beat of his mother's heart and their breathing. The way she's running her fingers through his hair fills his heart. Everything brings a peace to Naruto that he normally doesn't feel. Safe is not something that he usually feels with a companion, but it always seems to be present when the older blonde is around. The sense of security and contentment gives him the courage to do something that he probably should have done 26 days ago when he first met her. "Can you tell me our story?" Tsunade's heartbeat picks up at his request. She closes her eyes and buries her nose in his hair, breathing him in. This is the moment she's been waiting for, and she's not going to let it pass her by. She scoots further down in bed, so her forehead is pressed against his, and she can look into his open blue eyes. "The moment I found out about you was the moment I fell in love with you." Her voice is a whisper against his face. Naruto is steadily avoiding her eyes, preferring instead to stare at her neck. She cups his cheek and pulls his body closer to her. "I didn't want to share you. Not one bit. I want to take you away, to raise you where no one was ever going to find us." She kisses his nose, and Naruto fiddles with her necklace. "Why didn't you?" Naruto mutters, his eyes darting up to hers and then away. "Because I couldn't, in good conscience, take you away from your father." Tsunade brushes some hair out of his eyes, hoping that his precious blues will find her again. "Now, looking back, I should have had the two of you meet after you were born. We would have been far away from the village the night that everything happened, and I never would have lost you." Tears fall from Tsunade's eyes as the pain of the memory of losing her baby comes over her in a wave. She felt like she was going to die for years after it happened. The only reason she didn't drink herself to death was because of Shizun, but then I became a demon and you didn't want me anymore. Her baby sounds so confused and heartbroken that she grabs his chin so their eyes can meet. You're not a demon. She knows her voice is hard, but she wants that thought, that idea, to be banished from his mind. You're my baby and I love you. I will fight anyone who even has the audacity to imply that. Her hand moves to the back of his head to pull him closer to her. I won't stand for you calling yourself that either. You are my precious little boy, and I will tell you that every day if I have to until you believe it. Naruto's lips tremble and tears prick his eyes. Then why did you leave me? Oh, Naruto. Tsunade's heart rips out her chest. I didn't know I was. I gave birth to you in the woods. Shizun and I were trying to get back to the leaf to get Minato to help Kushina when I went into labor. Shizun went ahead because I couldn't more very fast. It wasn't that much longer that the contract got so strong that I had to stop to see how far along you were. It was then that I realized that you were in distress, and if I didn't do anything, you were going to die. Her voice breaks, and she holds him closer, and he clings to her. I performed a C-section on myself. She whispers, "When I held you in my arms for the first time, you were so perfect, so beautiful. I didn't know it was possible to love you even more than I already did. I activated my seal to heal myself, but by then I had lost so much blood. When I woke up, the Nine Tails had already attacked the village." She mourns. Half of the hospital had been destroyed. The half we thought you were in. We didn't know Minato had taken you for the sealing. We thought you were dead, and I couldn't stay in the village without you. It was too painful. Why didn't anyone tell you I was alive? Naruto sniffs, his eyes drying. They didn't know you were mine. Tsunade wipes away the tears. We had kept it a secret that I was pregnant. I was afraid you would be targeted if people knew I was having a baby. So you wanted me? Naruto doesn't know if he wants the answer, but he asks anyways. People are always telling him that they should have killed him at birth, and he's terrified she thinks that too. With all of my soul. Tsunade vows, never breaking eye contact. Do you love me? He needs the reassurance. With all of my heart. They lay together, both seeking comfort in the other's presence. For the first time in a long time, Tsunade feels her heart start to heal. All of the ragged edges are sewn together and heal just by her baby's presence. Naruto feels the massive hole that always mocked him, telling him that there was something wrong with him, fills, and he feels like he can breathe easy for one of the first times. I thought you were dead. I needed you. Naruto whispers, I know, Naruto. I should have been here. We should have been together. You have no idea how much I wish we had been. But I'm here now, and I'm not going anywhere. Naruto tucks his head under her chin, and they hold each other as pains began to heal. Tsunade holds him close and whispers into his ear how much she loves him, that they will never be separated again, and that she will always be here for him. A small smile graces Naruto's face as he falls back asleep. Onaizen. The real Naruto shouts to his brother who is teaching two of his clones wind style. Gale Surge. I did it. It took me almost 7 years, but I healed the damn fish. Asuma comes over and claps Naruto on the shoulder. It's about time. He starts laughing and ruffles Naruto's hair. I knew you could do it. Naruto looks down at the fish, and he can't wipe the smile off of face. He's been working on it so long that he didn't think he was ever going to be able to do it, but now he is one step closer to his dreams. He can't help but think of Tsunade. She won't know that he finally did it, right? Moms are supposed to be happy about this sort of thing, right? And ever since he had learned the truth about what happened, they had grown close, but he wasn't sure if he was ready for that step. Kurama's always pushing him to open up, saying he needs the connections that he told Gaara he needed to find. It's weird to think that so much has changed in so little time. He's written Gaara about it, and his fellow Jinchuriki told him to embrace it while he can because she might turn on him eventually, and even though it will hurt, the pain will be worth it. You should go tell your mother. Asuma pushes him towards the village. I'm sure she wants to know. You don't think she's like everyone else and will get upset that I'm getting stronger? Naruto needs the confirmation. His heart and his head are telling him two different things, and he really doesn't know what to do. I don't think you're ever going to find some more different than everyone else than Lady Tsunade. Asuma puffs some smoke and grins. Expect maybe a certain Hyuga heiress. Naruto eyes are as wide as saucers as he looks at his brother. Shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. I know more than you think I do. I'll continue to train the clones. You go impress your mother. Naruto searches his brother's face, and Asuma seems to genuinely think this is a good idea. Okay. Naruto hesitates before leaving, halfway hoping Asuma will call him back. When he doesn't, Naruto makes his way back to the village. His stomach is a ball of nerves, despite what Kurama is currently telling him. He doesn't think the incubator will really care that he finally made progress in his medical ninjutsu. At least he's not sure. Parents usually are proud when their kids achieve stuff. Obasan was always happy whenever he or Asuma Onizen did anything. His relationship with his mother was different the other kids his age. He's only known her for like 2 months. He'll trust his Onizen and show the old lady what he can do. Maybe he should show Shizen too. Naruto pulls out one of his storage scrolls and opens it so he can release Taunton. He knew it was stupid how much this little pig means to him, but no one had given him something like this before. He runs his thumb over carefully sewn thread and admires how long this must have taken her to make. Shizen had to care for him too, right? Why else would she take the time to make him this? He has so many questions in his head, and he doesn't know how to deal with them all. Then comes the emotions. He's never been particularly good at processing his emotion, and this isn't making it any better. Naruto seals the push-up before entering the village. He jumps up on the rooftops to make it to the Hokage Tower sooner. As he gets closer, he starts to worry that she's going to get mad that he just showed up out of the blue. After all, they weren't supposed to meet for dinner for another 4 hours. Kurama keeps telling him it will be alright, but his hands start to sweat. He really hopes this isn't going to be a bad idea. He scurries into through the doors and hugs the walls as he makes his way towards the Hokage's office. His heart feels like it's going to explode out of his chest, but he keeps going. He sees Shizen leaning over her desk, and he steps up behind her and pokes her in the back. She jumps in surprise and whips around. "Naruto!" she exclaims, clutching her chest. "You're early. Is everything okay?" She presses her hand against his forehead, taking his temperature. Naruto's face has taken on the color of his clan symbol, and his eyes dart around to see the shinobi and civilians in the room looking at them weirdly. "I am okay, Shitsune." He pulls his face away from her and looks down at his feet. "I was wondering if I could see the old lady." Shizen has to suppress her smile at seeing her little brother's reaction. "She's just doing paperwork for the rest of the day, so you can go on in." Naruto rubs the back of his neck and his face turns redder. "Can you come too?" "Of course." Shizen can't help the grin that comes to her face. She hasn't spent nearly enough time with her Otudo. Together, they walk to the double doors. They wait until Tsunade's low voice tells them to enter, and the Shizun pushes the door open. "Naruto is here to see you." Tsunade's eyes have already found him and are searching him. "Are you okay? Did you get hurt?" She stands from her chair and is running her chakra-covered hands over him before he can say anything. "I'm okay, sheesh." Naruto complains in embarrassment. "Can't I come see you without anything being wrong?" He scuffs his foot and only meets Granny's eyes when she lifts his chin up. "You can come whenever you'd like." The smile on her face helps his blush subside and his heart clam down. "I love having you here with me." "Yeah?" Naruto needs to be sure, and he looks for any trace of a lie on her face. Always. He finds no deception and smiles up at her. Someone besides his 3 precious people actually want him around. Tsunade leads him over to the couch, and they sit down together with Shizun taking Naruto's other side. He bites his lips, nervous once again. "I want to show you something." He reaches for the scroll on his back, only to freeze when it's not there. Horror fills him when he realizes that he left it in the clearing with Asuma. Doubt fills him as he berates himself for being so stupid. This is the reason he came here, and he forgot the one thing he needs. He was too busy worrying about showing up unexpected to notice that the scroll wasn't on his back. "I forgot." He clenches his fists as Kurama whispers to him to just ask if she has a scroll here. "Can I borrow a medical training scroll?" Tsunade runs her fingers through Naruto's hair and kisses his head. "Of course." Shizen gets up and goes to the bookcase to grab the requested scroll. Shizen sets the scroll on the coffee table and rolls it out in front of him and places a fish on the seal. Naruto wipes his hands on his pants and scoots himself forward in his seat. He molds the Kurama's chakra in his belly and forces into the seals he's inked to his wrists. His chakra flows into the fish and makes it and his hands glow a soft organe. It takes about a minute, but soon the fish is flopping around on the table, and he looks up to see if maybe Tsunade is proud of him. He doesn't have to wonder, because she is looking at him with the biggest smile and a look of wonder. "You did it, baby." He can tell that she wants to hug him, and he wants that too. Her hugs make him feel good inside. He leans towards her just a little, and that's all she needs to wrap her arms around him and hold him tight. "I'm so proud of you. That's amazing, Naruto-kun." Shizen praises and Naruto's cheeks turn pink again. "We need to go celebrate. What do you want to do, Naruto? It's your day." Tsunade pulls back and looks into his beautiful blue eyes. Expecting, "Aren't you working?" Tsunade brushes the hair out of his eyes and smiles down at him. "I only have paperwork left for today, and I can just do it tomorrow." Besides, she pulls Naruto up and Shizen leads the two blondes out the door. "I would rather spend the day with you." Walking down the streets of the village is a lot different when you're walking next to the Hokage, Naruto thinks. None of the usual whispers are following him, and the glaring is at a minimum. It makes him feel a little weird, but in a good way. "Have you decided where you want to go?" Shizen asks. "I don't know." Naruto mutters, thinking about the lack of money in his pocket. "I don't really have any money right now." He whispers, and Tsunade almost misses it. She stops the blonde and turns him to look at her. "When you're with me, you don't pay for anything." Tsunade's voice is firm and brokers no arguing. "Okay." Naruto's cheeks burn again and he wants to facepalm. He hates that he blushes so much around her. He's a man. This shouldn't be such a big deal. He bites his lip and thinks about the things that he needs. Clothes is the first thing he thinks of. His wardrobe has taken quite the beat in the past couple of months, and he hasn't made enough money to replace them all. But then she would find out just how poor he really is. After all, he buys the cheapest he can. But then again, if she buys them, then there won't be any demon taxes. "Can we go clothes shopping?" Tsunade is surprised. Clothes shopping is the last thing that she thought he would say. He thought he would want to go to the weapons shop or something more like that. "Anything you want, Naruto." Naruto guides the trio to the ninja supply store, and the bell rings as they walk in. "I'll be there in a couple of minutes." The store owner shouts out from the back. The blonde walks straight to the back right and start rifling through the bargain bin. Tsunade holds back a grimace when she sees him looking for his orange jumpsuit in his size. "Have you looked at any of these other outfits, Naruto?" she asks, trying to distract him from the repulsive orange. He looks over at the clothes she points out with a longing, which confuses her. They're too much money. Looking at the price tag, she sees that a whole outfit is only 5,675 yen, and the ones he's looking at are 1135 yen. "Remember, I'm paying. You don't have to worry about money." Naruto looks down and bites his lip. "But I'll have to replace them when they get ruined." Tsunade bends down so she can look him in the eyes. "I'll get you new ones then too." Naruto shuffle and then nods, and Tsunade couldn't be happier. Naruto looks at all the different shinobi clothes and picks up a pair of black shinobi pants and ankle to shin wraps. He hasn't had clothes this nice since Obasan was alive. He walks to another aisle and smiles at blacktop the buttons along the right shoulder seam with 3/4 long sleeves. He grabs at a mesh shirt, gray arm protectors, and gray pants that bunch at this calf. He approaches the older blonde and holds out his arms. "I like these. Don't you want more than one?" She prods. Naruto's blush is back, and he nods his head. "I'll go get some more. You tell the cashier you're getting 10. Tsunade and Shizen go to pick out more clothes for him while he approaches the counter with a gulp. He places the bundle down when an older man emerges from the back. He eyes narrow at Naruto and corks his lip like he smells something disgusting. "What are you doing here?" "I want to buy these clothes." Naruto can already tell this is going to blow up and can't help but be glad it will. "I'm with the hoe. 56,800 yen. He demands. "I need 10 pairs. Naruto hedges, already knowing what he's going to say. 113,600 yen. The young blonde braces himself for what's coming next. An angry blonde with fire in her eyes comes out of an aisle. 113,600 yen? That more than twice what they're worth. Hokage-sama. The man jumps, sweating like a pig. I didn't see you there, obviously. She sneers, grabbing his shirt and pulling him towards her. Why are you charging him extra? It's... Naruto doesn't really blame the man for not wanting to answer. He wouldn't want to either in his place. It's the demon tax. Naruto whispers, demon tax. Both Tsunade and Shizen shout, outraged. I told you. Kurama grumbles. You should have told her sooner. I didn't want to bother her. Naruto's eyes are wide as he watches the Hokage threaten the life of a civilian. I highly doubt you could ever bother her about something like this. Kurama huffs. It's more likely she'll be bothered that you didn't tell her sooner. I wonder what she's going to do when she finds out about everything else. Naruto shudders at the thought. The blood vessel in her forehead might actually burst instead of just threatening like it's currently doing. Kurama's laughter echoes in his head as Shizen turns to him. Naruto, why didn't you tell us? There's a pain in her eyes he doesn't understand. He doesn't know how to answer the question. It's not a big deal. It's been this way since Oba-san died and Oniai-san left. He looks away, the old pain resurfacing. They say, I need to pay back the village for damage the QB inflicted 12 years ago. It better than what it used to be. Shizen breaths through her nose. That wasn't your fault. If anything, they should be thanking you for saving them. She gives him a long look. Is there anything else we should know about? Naruto thinks about all the times he has had to clean up his apartment after the villagers have trashed it. Looking over at the angry blonde that's finishing the transaction with a shopkeeper bleeding from his forehead. She seems angry enough without adding anything more to it. Yep, Shizen follows his eyes to her sensei and then back at him. We'll talk about this later, okay? Naruto nods his head as Tsunade grabs their purchases and ushers them out of the store, huffing as they went. Naruto slows his breathing as he tries to reach that calm place inside himself. He pushed all of his negative feelings, thoughts, and desires into their box and hides that box into the deepest recesses of his mind. After several minutes of meditating, he reaches the Buji's mindscape and smiles as he feels the warmth of Kurama's fur against his back and opens his eyes. Gaara sat in front of him with Shikako locked in a cage several yards behind him. Naruto. Gaara smiles, and this time, it doesn't seem to be as painful to form as it used to be. I heard the new Kazekage is sending you and your siblings to Konoha on a diplomatic mission in a month. Naruto smiles, looking forward to showing Gaara around Konoha and to his precious people. He's never been able to introduce a friend to anyone, and he's looking forward to this chance. Baki-sensei wants to help strengthen the relationship between our two villages, and he has accepted my request to be a part of it. Gaara plays with some sand between his fingers, avoiding looking at Naruto. The blonde knows that if he stays silent long enough, that the redhead will ask what Naruto knows he wants to ask. Patience is rewarded when Gaara meets eyes and speaks. Would you fix my seal? Naruto opens and shuts his mouth. I can try. He rubs the back of his neck. I'm not a seal master yet. You might want someone with more experience to fix it. Gaara is silent in his way that lets Naruto know that he needs to rethink his stance on the subject. There is no one I trust more to fix this than you. His hand grips his stomach as a reminder of what they both share. I'll need to make a plan. Naruto moves closer. Can I take a look at the seal? Gaara nods and lifts up his shirt. Naruto's eyes trace the lines on his 3 incomplete seals. It seems like the person who put the seal there was trying to make a new seal, but since they didn't have enough knowledge on Fuinjutsu, they just took pieces from other seal and smashed them together with an incomplete understanding on what they were doing. The seal isn't complete. Naruto takes out a paper and pen to copy it all down. I'm going to have to do some research on how to add the barrier and filter glyphs without damaging the structure that is already in place. Gaara is silent until Naruto finishes his assessment. Do you think you will finish figuring it out by the time we arrive next month? I'll have to ask the old lady if I can see some more advanced Fuinjutsu from the Uzumaki clan. A complex matrix will have to be added to complete the seal. Naruto muttered while using his chakra to test the flow of Gaara's seal. He would also have to adjust channels in the seal to improve the saturation into his chakra network. Do you think you'll have a solution by the time I arrive? Gaara pulls his shirt down and his eyes pleads in the way only Gaara can. His eyes show a glimmer of hope while this face is resigned to the disappointment life has taught him is inevitable. I will. Naruto gave Gaara a true smile that only a few have seen in his life. It's a smile that comes when another person shows complete faith and confidence in you. It's a promise of a lifetime. Naruto sticks his fist out for Gaara to bump. Gaara high-fives his first and cocks his head and then looks up to the ceiling. Kankaru is calling me. I have to go. We'll meet again in a week? Next week. Naruto confirms as their shared mindscape fades and he's left in his own. He and Kurama sat in the shade of a great tree in their meadow. White flowers surround them and the sky is a brilliant blue. Naruto lays back against Kurama as he tries to think back to everything he has learned about Fuinjutsu, but he can't think of anything he's seen or read that's close to what he needs to do. If his obesan was here, he could talk to her about it. She had been taught by Mito Obasan and had started teaching him Fuinjutsu a couple months before she was killed. He would given anything if either of his obasans were with him today. He has so much he needs to learn, but there aren't any real seal masters left to teach him. The perverted sage claims to be seal master, but from what he's seen, his seals are sloppy and leave something to be desired. Breathing deeply, he knows there's really only one thing left for him to do. He sits up straighter and centers his body and mind. Meditating had always been hard for him. There are just too many thoughts running through his mind to really achieve a true level of peace. As something being hard has never deterred him, Naruto pushes through and searches the memories that Kurama showed him about Fuinjutsu. His only hope is to push a little more, to see just a little more, and try to find something that will help him find a solution to Gaara's problem. He is so engrossed with his thoughts that he doesn't hear the footsteps approaching him until a voice that sounds like shouting his meditative state. Hello, Naruto. Tsunade is sitting in her office drudging through her paperwork. Somehow, no matter how much she finishes the day before, there is only more. There has to be a way to lessen the stacks. Maybe if she delegates, more the problem will be fixed. The only problem with that is that only because she could delegate to her advisors, the elders of the village, and she doesn't even trust them with a marshmallow. Leaning back in her chair, she looks out over the village. In order to replace them, she will need the majority vote in the council meeting. She needs 9 of the 17 votes, but it is possible. The Hyuga, Aburame, Hatake, Yamanaka, Nara, Tsurutobi, Inuzuka, and Akimichi clans will side with her. The Shimura, Tenma, Kahaku, Hoki, Kurama, and Tenma clans, along with Hamura Mitokado and Kohoryudatain will vote against her. That only left the Lee clan that would cast the deciding vote. Tsunade smiles to herself. Turning them to her side won't be hard once she finalizes her plans to fix Rock Lee's spine. Those old bastards are being thrown out of their asses if it's the last thing she does. Then it would free up some of her time to spend with her son after selecting advisors she trusts. When he was still a fetus, she had plans on how she would train him to make sure he could protect himself. She would have to make some adjustments to them, but she can't wait for the quality bonding time. That is, if he wants her to train him. She's pulled from her thoughts when Shizun sticks her head into the room. Tsunade-sama, Naruto is here to see you. Send him in. She would think that it was her thoughts that called him here, but as it hasn't worked every other time she's thought of him, she doesn't try to fool herself. Naruto comes in looking a little shy and rubbing his neck. Sorry to bother you, but I was wondering if I could ask you for a favor. Anything. Her heart picks up at the thought that he wants her to train him too. That would be too coincidental though, right? Her mind runs through all the different trainings she wants to put him through and all the jutsu she wants to teach him. Earth is her primary affinity, so she'll teach him how to develop that chakra, since she isn't any good with wind. Can I borrow the Uzumaki and Senju Fuinjutsu scrolls and books? There's a project I'm working on. He gives her a timid smile and her heart breaks. He doesn't want to spend more time with her after all. She only lets the disappointment settle in herself for a second before she successfully pushed her emotions down. Of course, sweetheart. Tsunade taps her nail against the hardwood of her desk as she stares at Katsu. She knew as soon as she gave into her precious little boy's request, it had been a mistake. Shizun said she needed to show more faith in him and let him go on AC rank mission. So when he asked, she found the safest mission currently available. It was supposed to be a simple escort mission, and it had turned into a nightmare. When the Katsuyu with Naruto told her what was happening, she wanted to run to him to protect him. It irritated her to no bounds that the position she took to protect him was preventing her from being there when he needed her. The only thing that gave her strength is knowing her baby took after her. He was able to defeat a Jonin and complete his mission without getting seriously injured. At least Katsuyu has told her he isn't injured. She will confirm that when he gets back. Then there was the things her little boy was hiding from her. Her baby can use Suade Unjutsu. When Katsuyu told her that, she started planning out how she was going to train him. She would use the teaching plan her Ajisen used with her. After all, there was no one better than Tobarama Senju at Suade Unjutsu. Tsunade looked forward to the time she would spend with him. She likes to imagine that it will bring them closer together and finally make him comfortable letting everyone know they are family. She was lost in thought until her attention is pulled to Katsuyu. Lady Tsunade, Naruto, is approaching the gates. He should. Tsunade was out the window before she could finish. The little slug just sighs before disappearing back home. Tsunade leaps over houses as her eyes land on a mop of blonde hair in the distance. She jumps one more time before landing 3 feet from him. The other 5 people with him are overlooked as she rushes forward and crushes him in her arms. She cradles his head against her chest and relishes the feeling of her baby in her arms. It isn't until he starts to really struggle that she lets him go. Are you okay? Does anything hurt? She coats her hands in green chakra as she runs them over his body, not fully believing his assurances that he's fine. His clothes are worn and he's a little dirty, but she doesn't find anything that would cause concern. So she pulls him to her once again and whispering how much she missed him so the others didn't hear. When she pulls away once again, his face is as red as a bell pepper. I told you I was fine. She sees his eyes dart to a red-headed boy who gives him a faint smile, which made Naruto's blush to recede. He smiles back, and Tsunade looks over the boys whom she assumes is her friend's son. He has black circles under his eyes, a sign of untreated insomnia over the course of several years. The kanji for love is scarred into his forehead, and by the strain of his smile, she can tell that he doesn't use his facial muscles often. Hokage-sama, can you look over Sasuke-kun? Sakura brings her out of her assessment, and she turns to look at the girl and the Uchiha. He is leaning against the kunoichi, who is the only reason he's standing. Bandages cover his arms, legs, and left cheek, while a bruise is blooming on his right, which makes his glare laughable. He seems to be fine. Tsunade finishes her assessment and wraps her arm around her baby's shoulder as she leads the group into the village. Take him to be looked over at the hospital, and Naruto can give the mission report. She ignores the bewildered look on the Uchiha's face and confusion on Sakura's, and instead turns to the Sand siblings. I assume you 3 are the delegation from the Sand? Yes, Hokage-sama. Temari nods her head. Baki-sensei sent us to discuss a joint Chunin exam between our 2 villages. Tsunade hums as she looks up to the Hokage Tower. We can discuss this further back at my office. She listens to her son's idle chatter with the 3 siblings, and her heart warms. She's never seen him act this open with anyone other than Asuma. While she's happy he has good friends like these, she's a little jealous that she's still waiting for him to open up to her. It was one of the things she hoped for when she was pregnant with him, and it was taken away from her before she even had the chance to grab onto even try. Now she was fighting an uphill battle to find a place in his heart. When they reach her office, she looks over the documentation that Temari gave her and smirked to herself when Naruto was shocked that both she and Kankuro are Chunin and already were when they entered the last exams. It was common when a Jinchuriki entered an exam with other villages to have their teammates be Chunins. She would have to think more on her response to the Kazekage. She pulls a sheet out of her top right drawer and fills it out before clearing her voice and offering it to the blonde kunoichi. I will have to think more about this. You may stay at the inn while you wait for my response. This letter will let them know to send the bill to me. Thank you, Hokage-sama. The 3 bow and make their way to leave. Naruto reaches out his hand, though, stopping Gaara. Can you stay back for a second? He asks and glances back to her. Gaara nods, making plans with his siblings to meet later. Naruto waits for them to leave before turning to her and rubbing his neck. I wanted to introduce you to my friend. His cheeks turn red, and she can't help but think how adorable he is. This is Gaara. Gaara, this is. Naruto hesitates, and his eyes grow big. He doesn't know what to say, and he prays he'll call her the one name she's been waiting 12 years, 7 months, and 17 days to hear. This is my. This. Her name is Tsunade. Gaara just gives a strained smile and bows his head slightly. It's an honor to meet Naruto's mother, Tsunade-san. He has told me a lot about you. The disappointment and shock she felt were at war within her. On one hand, she is disappointed that once again her baby still didn't feel comfortable calling her mom. And on the other, he told another person that she was his mother. Getting up, she walks around her desk and stretches out her hand to take his. It's nice meeting a friend of my Naruto-kun's friends. She tries out the affectionate term. It feels nice on her lips, and looking at her baby and his small smile, it isn't hated. We were wondering if we could use one of the ceiling rooms tonight. Naruto's eyes are steady. She could tell he's thought a lot about it. When Shikaku was sealed in Gaara, they used 3 incomplete seals, and it's damaging his health. Her eyes lock with Gaara's when he begins to speak. I would like Naruto to fix it. I would like to sleep without fear of losing control and setting Shikaku free. He is standing firm. It reminds her of how Naruto stands when he believes something is right. Like when he saved her from Kabuto. He had a determined glint in his eyes that reminded her of Nawaki. Her little boy and his friend have just as much determination as her brother, and it warms her heart. She looks between the two, weighing her options. I will agree to you using a room under the condition that you walk me through the process. Adjusting a working seal is dangerous, and I want to make sure you thought of everything. She knew he was training to become a seal master, but she didn't know how close he was. And this type of seal work required a mastery of the art she wasn't sure he possessed. She didn't want him to think she was doubting him, though. This way she could make sure everything is safe without giving him that impression. I can do that. Naruto nods his head and smiles at her before turning to Gaara. I'll meet you, Temari, and Kankuro for dinner later, okay? I have to give my mission report. Gaara nods before saying goodbye to the 2 blondes and going in search of his siblings. Tsunade guides her baby to the couch before they both sit down, and she grasps his hands in hers and runs her thumbs over his knuckles. Katsuyu told me you were attacked by Jonin? Well, Naruto starts and looks out the window. That was his rank, but he really wasn't that strong. He only gained that rank after defecting from Konoha after stealing Tobirama Ajin's sword. He rolls up his sleeve, and she notices a storage seal on his arm. I was able to get it back. He hesitates before releasing the sealing and revealing the contents. But I broke it. I'm sorry. Tsunade looks at a hilt that resembles Vajra and a blade of yellow. The last time she saw this was the day she put it in the village vault. When she heard it had been stolen, she thought it was part of her curse, that she would lose everything and everyone that meant anything to her. It seems like her baby was going to bring everything back to her. Thank you, baby. She whispers, fights the desire to pull him into her arms. You can't imagine what this means to me. Naruto leads Gaara through the hallways for the hospital, giving the redhead silent encouragement. He had been adamant about apologizing for almost killing Lee, but now that he was here, fears seemed to engulf him. He'd never regretted an action before, and the conflicting emotions swirled within him like a sandstorm. The door creaks open, and his black-rimmed eyes are drawn to the bushy-browed ninja dressed in a gray hospital gown. It was strange for him to see the first ninja that has ever made him bleed looking so fragile in a hospital bed. A weight settled in his chest as feelings of apprehension consumed him. He had never felt guilty about any of his actions until now, and the new emotion isn't one he wants to experience often. Hey, Lee. Naruto pulls a seat closer to his friend's bed and sits down. Naruto, Lee tears his eyes away from the redhead and looks at his friend. How was your mission? The blonde grins at the memory. It was a success. We protected our client while he ran the race, and we repossessed the second Hokage's sword. Lee's mouth fell open and his wide eyes stare at Naruto. The sword of the Thunder God. That was lost years ago. Naruto leans back in his chair and puts his hands behind his head. The ninja that stole, it was a part of the team tasked with killing our client. Lee clenches his fist and raises it in triumph. The flames of youth burn bright in you, Naruto. I only hope that one day I can join you on a mission so our flames of youth can burn together. The blonde chuckles and sits up right his chair. I look forward to that. His face grows serious as he looks his friend in the eye. Have they scheduled the surgery yet? Determination shines in Lee's eyes as he refuses to drop his gaze. It's scheduled for a week from now, and the physical therapy will start the next day. I can finally see an end to this storm. After listening to the exchange between friends, Gaara felt it was finally his turn to join the conversation. He had been practicing what he was going to say for a month. He only hoped it was enough. Lee-san, I want to apologize for hurting you like I did. I wasn't myself. I took it too far, and I wish I could do something to make it right. Gaara looks down in shame and misses the soft smile Lee gives him. It is okay, Gaara. Naruto has already explained to me that was the results of sleep deprivation and the Ichibi's incomplete seal. I only hope that you will find a way to make the seal stronger so something like this will not happen again. The redhead nods in agreement. Naruto has been looking to a way to fix it. It's one of the reasons he came to the Leaf. The blonde confirms. I'll make the adjustments, and he'll have to wait at least a week before he can mold chakra again without putting his life at risk. Lee gives Gaara a bright smile. It looks like your storm is almost over too. Gaara lays on a ceiling table with his shirt off, glad that Naruto has finally finished explaining the process to his mother so they can start. When he had first decided to get his seal fixed, he thought when the moment actually came he would be a little fearful. Now he finds that his confidence in his friend outweighs any apprehension he might have felt. Naruto, on the other hand, was nervous. He has never held a life in his hands like this, and he's not sure if he wants to get used to the feeling. One little mistake, and it could mean his friend's death. Taking a deep breath, Naruto grabs a brush and sealing in. Are you ready, Gaara? His pulse is thudding hard enough he can feel it in his chest, but he tries to give his friend a reassuring smile. The redhead wasn't fooled, though. I have every confidence in you. He learned over the past few months was Naruto's greatest weakness was his lack of confidence. It came from being told he was worthless and was never going to amount to anything all his life. He is hopeful that having his mother and sister in his life will help raise his self-esteem. Naruto dips his brush in ink and tries to control his breathing. When he planned this, he hadn't anticipated how nerve-wracking it would be. His eyes dart up to find his Tsunade's eyes, and he is overwhelmed with the amount of confidence shining in them. He has vague memories of his obeisance looking at him like this, but it's been so long that the memories have faded. Taking a deep breath and letting it out slowly, Naruto brings the brush down and begins the sealing work. He works slow to make sure he doesn't make any mistakes, and by the time he finishes, it's a couple hours later. He forms a seal and pushes chakra into the ink to finish the seal, before giving Gaara a huge smile. It's finished. Gaara sits up on his elbows to see the new ink on his skin. His chakra already feels more stable, lacking any of the power spikes he usually feels within his network. His fingers run over the lines and tries to feel Shikaku's influence in his emotions and impulse. For the first time in his life, everything is quiet. It's just him in his mind, and the emptiness leaves him in peace. Tsunade approaches her son, and pride fills her heart. He had learned so much on his own and is on his way to becoming a Fuinjutsu master, and that is not something many people can say. She steps towards him and cups his cheek. I'm so proud of you. A blush warms his face, and Tsunade can't help but think how cute he is. Tearing her eyes from her little boy, she steps closer to the sand ninja and runs some diagnostic jutsu to check his vitals. I would like to keep you in the hospital a few days for observation, but if nothing concerning happens, you can leave by the end of the week. Gaara sits upright and puts his shirt back on. Thank you, Hokage-sama. You don't know how much this means to me. You don't have to thank me, Gaara. She gives him a comforting smile. I would do anything for a friend of Naruto's. Would the two of you like to join me for dinner? Gaara looked at Naruto, and the blonde could tell the redhead would follow his lead. When he thought about eating dinner with her tonight, his emotions swirl inside him, and he's not sure he can sit through a dinner when he's feeling conflicted. She made him rethink things he believed his whole life. I have plans for tonight, but can we have dinner tomorrow? He hates the flash of disappointment he sees on her face before she agrees, but he knows he needs time to think. The next day, Naruto was in his clearing training. He had several clones practicing the wind style, wind sword, another few practicing water style, water armor, and sparring with each other, several trying earth style, earth throw, and another 5 practicing eshing seals with chakra. Naruto himself was going through his workout regimen. He made some progress with his earth chakra after he found Mito Obasin in his mindscape, not to mention his Fuinjutsu. He had been surprised when he first found her, but didn't waste a moment before he started asking her questions about seals. Without her, it would have taken him years to figure out how to fix Gar's seal. He just didn't have the experience needed to know exactly how each part of the seal worked and would interact with other parts of the seal. She had been an invaluable resource. After she helped him to figure out a workaround for the seal, he asked her if she could teach him more about Fuinjutsu and any chakra affinity she had. Since she hadn't been a ninja, she didn't know anything other than the basics of Earth Chakra, but he would take what he could get. The only downside is that he now has another voice in his head telling him what to do. At least she was nicer about it than Kurama. He was brought from his thoughts when he feels a breach in his barrier. He sniffs the air and relaxes from his tense posture. He figured that his birth lady would come investigate his training ground eventually. From the stories Mito Obasin told him, it was a miracle she waited this long, as she was never patient as a child. He faces the direction his birth lady is coming from. He has a passing thought to dispel his clones, so she doesn't know everything he is capable of to protect himself, but decides to take a chance that it won't come back and bite him in the ass. Naruto watches as pale skin and a green coat comes into view. Her hazel eyes grow wide as she looks at all 23 of him training before finding him. She walks over and sits down next to him, and she gives him a half smile. I see you've been keeping a few secrets from me. He shrugs his shoulders and plays with the grass. I'm usually working on a few different things at the same time, and you're busy being the Hokage. I didn't want to bother you. Tsunade lifts his chin with 2 fingers. Baby, how many times do I have to tell you? Nothing you tell me would ever be a bother. I want to know everything about you. She moves her hand to cup his cheek and brushes her thumb over his cheekbone. I love you so much, Naruto-kun. I wasn't a part of your life when you were younger, and it kills me. Her voice cracks as the shadow of pain lances through her heart, remembering those 12 years. I want to be as active as possible in your life. His eyes are shiny, and his chin trembles before he clenches it. I'll be as active as you let me be. Naruto looks down and scooches closer to her, so their knees touch. I always wanted an Okasan. He hears her breath hitch and his eyes dart up. Her eyes is like freshly warm bread as they look at him. A tear rolls down her cheek. Panic grips his chest as he follows the tear with his eyes. The last thing he wanted to do was make her cry. In a panic, he pulls down her hand from his face and clenches it from his chest and wipes her tear away. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm not good at this stuff. I always say the wrong thing, and I've never had a Okasan before, and I don't know what to do. Tsunade crushes him to her chest and rocks him back and forth. You didn't do anything wrong, Naruto-kun. I'm happy. So happy, baby. You make me so happy. She runs her fingers through his golden hair, guides his face into the crook of her neck. You're perfect at this stuff, baby. I couldn't ask for a more perfect son. I love you, baby. Naruto's heart lifts like a hot air balloon, and the warmth spreads to every part of his body. It's a feeling he hasn't felt in years, not since his Obasin died. He clutches his Okasan back, and pressing his face in her neck. He breathes deeply, and her scent makes him feel safe in a way that not even his Obasin could. Naruto is notified that Sasuke defected while heading back to the hospital after seeing the Sand siblings off. The emotions swirl inside him like a whirlpool. Part of him is relieved because he will no longer have to put up with the Uchiha's bigoted ways and his constant need to prove he is the best. A smaller part is angry that he is so easily giving up what Naruto has fought for his whole life. The entire village loves him, and he can get anything he wants just by asking for it. Naruto's fist clenches before realizing he isn't surprised. After all, Sasuke has been grumbling for months about how he is unhappy with his growth as a shinobi. Sasuke wants a shortcut to become powerful as he can as fast as he can, but there isn't a shortcut to the physical development needed to become powerful. It takes time to develop the instincts, speed, strength, and chakra capacity needed for the high-powered moves he wants. That was something the Uchiha will never understand because of his lust for vengeance clouds all rational thought. Becoming strong took time and humility to recognize everyone had something they could teach him. Instead, every time he lost, he blamed circumstance or his teachers. Naruto is the last one to his Okaisen's office, and seeing someone other than his mom sitting in her chair makes him uncomfortable. It reminds him that everyone he cares leaves. It's something that he's always struggled with. Ever since he was little, the little voice in his head has told him that the reason everyone leaves is that there is something fundamentally wrong with him. And that was the reason everyone called him a demon. It wasn't until he met Kurama that he realized what exactly was wrong with him. It explained why he always had to be on guard, especially after he meeting Danzo Shimura when he entered the academy. The older man refused to see him as a human being and only believed that he should be a weapon for the greater good of the village. Shikamaru Nara, Shino Aburame, Danzo began as he eyed the six of them. Today you're being given your first mission as Chunin. You are to retrieve Sasuke Uchiha and return him safely to the leaf. Shikamaru nods and sticks his hands in his pockets. If you don't mind me asking, where is the Hokage today? She usually gives out these missions. His eyes were cold and calculating. Naruto knew that the Nara also saw through Danzo's lies. The Hokage is detained performing a surgery at the hospital. Danzo dismisses Shikamaru's concern and Naruto fumes. He resents the subterfuge the man is using to usurp the Hokage. It wouldn't take time at all to bring this to his Okaisen's attention and let her make the decision. The six of you will leave in 10 minutes. Retrieving the last Uchiha is of the utmost importance. Ordinarily, a mission with this level of significance would be given to a team of Jonin or Chunin, but unfortunately, the six of you are all we have available. It's up to the six of you to finish the mission. You're dismissed. The team moves to leave when the old Cyclopes rise from the chair. Jin and Uzumaki, I need to have a word with you. Naruto clenches his jaw before turning and shoving his hands in his pockets. The room is silent as the others file out and shutting the door behind them. The two eyes stare into one, and Danzo purses his lips. I want to make something very clear to you, the older man begins. It is in your best interest that the Sasuke Uchiha retrieval mission is a success and the boy is returned unharmed. He drums his fingers against his cane. Otherwise, secrets have a way of getting out. Naruto tenses. There are a lot of secrets that he is currently keeping. Some are more sensitive than others. And what secret would that be? Danzo's smile is patronizing. The real reason that Bawako Saratobi died 7 years ago. Naruto's mind numbs as this secret was the last he expected the old Warhawk to know. The protective barrier had been tampered with, and the only way that could have happened was if someone inside the house altered a seal. Naruto felt sweat bead on his brow as he remembered that day. Fuinjutsu has always fascinated him, and when he saw the seals around the house, he couldn't help but try to dissect the different parts and figure out how they work together. It was a day he'll never forget. He thought he could improve upon the seal by interlacing a Genjutsu seal with it. Not far enough in his studies to know how difficult and complicated it was to make adjustments to seals that were already placed. He should have told his obeisant what he had done, but he knew he would get in trouble and that he could fix it after she went to sleep. She would never have to know. Because you tampered with the seal, a rogue ninja was able to enter the house. He sighed dramatically, condemnation burning in his eye. There were procedures if that happened, though, and Bawako tried to follow them, but you weren't in bed like you were supposed to be. I didn't mean for that to happen. His voice quivers and breaks. Years of guilt start to bury him as his biggest regret is thrown in his face. He had been trying to fix what he broke when he sensed the ninja walking up behind him. He remembers the overwhelming killing intent that flooded the room and couldn't help but call out for his obeisant. Are you sure? You knew the rules. You knew that you weren't doing what you were supposed to be doing. His stance hardens. You killed her. Naruto tries to raise his defenses, but they were blocked by years of self-torment. She had entered the room like a whirlwind, trying to distract the enemy, so he could run away. She kept telling him to run away. Luckily, the only ones that know are you and me. Naruto can feel walls starting to close in around him. How do you think Uni-san would react if he could out? How do you think our new Hokage would react if she knew you killed her mother figure. Naruto can feel his anxieties getting the best of him. He hadn't run. If he had, his obeison might be alive today, and Asuma would never have left the village. Finding this out could cause him to leave again. The last thing he wanted was to lose Asuma again, and he just got his obeison in his life. Losing her so soon would crush him. Danzo smiles, yet doesn't reach his eye. We have an understanding, do we not? Tsunade cracks her neck as she exits the surgical suite where she just completed Rock Lee's spinal surgery. It had taken 8 hours, and she thought it was going to go south several times, but she had successfully repaired the young man's spine. She smiles as she imagines the expression on her son's face. The way his eyes will light up, the corner of his lip will quirk, and she almost sees the little boy she never got to meet. Pain lances through his chest, as it does every time she thinks of all the things she missed, like his first bath, first steps, first word, first birthday. All she wants to do is take her baby home and convince him to cuddle with her on the couch as they watch a movie. Just feeling the rise and fall of his chest brings her unimaginable comfort. If only they could live in those moments of nirvana for the rest of her life. She can't imagine anything more perfect. Her reverie is broken when Shizen bursts through the double doors. Tsunade-sama. Medics are bringing in 2 critical injuries. Her eyes are wide, and Tsunade can see her trembling. Stones of dread sink in her stomach, and she feels like throwing up. There's only one reason Shizen would react this way to incoming patients, and it make her want to die. She couldn't live through losing him again. She doesn't want to. Seeing her mentor's thoughts spurling, Shizen cuts in. Naruto isn't one of them. Tsunade sags against the wall and clutches her chest. She definitely needs to hold her baby in her arms now. Sasuke Uchiha defected from the village, and a group of 5 genin, led by Chunin's Shikamaru and Shino, went after him. So far, our medical team has retrieved 5 of the 6 ninjas, and only Niji Hyuga and Choji Akimichi have received life-threatening injuries. Naruto? Her voice is unrecognizable to herself, and she closes her eyes, bracing for the worst. We haven't located him or Sasuke yet. Kakashi just returned from his latest mission and is out looking for them. Tsunade closes her eyes and takes several deep breaths. Her baby is strong, and he could take the Uchiha brat. After all, he did save her Kabuto, a ninja not even Shizen could beat. She tries to convince herself that she has nothing to worry about, but that little voice inside her head won't shut up. Where are Niji's and Choji's injuries? Tsunade asks, distracting herself with work. Niji received several penetrating traumas to the chest, and Choji took one of the Akimichi's red pills. Tsunade slams her first against the wall. When they first came up with those damn pills, she was against them, but she was ignored. Maybe if she had access to the Nara's drug-mixing manual, she can find a way to reverse the adverse effects. Send someone to the Nara compound to ask if I can use their drug-mixing manual. Tell them it's for the Akimichi heir. I'll work on Choji while you work on Niji. She pushes off the wall and heads to another operating room. Naruto drags an unconscious Sasuke out of the river only to fall on his back in the mud after slipping on a rock. His lungs wheeze, and the hole in his chest burns like a bonfire. The rain washes the blood from his face as he fights the strong desire to give up. He's out of chakra, and even if he wasn't, his coils are fried. They wouldn't be able to handle any chakra running through them until he rested. His head flops to the side to look at the Uchiha. The black seal on his forehead stood out against his ghost-pale complexion. His lips twitch into a whisper of a smile. Part of him can't believe that it actually worked. It had been the first time he'd been able to ink a seal with his chakras so fast. Granted, he used way too much chakra in the application, but that was something he could fix with training. Rolling on his side, he heaves himself to his feet. Naruto's body screams in torment when he lifts Sasuke into a fireman's hold. If it had been any other person, he would have just killed them and burned the body. The last loyal Uchiha had always been special, though, and bringing the traitor back alive without permanent damage is worth the strain. He never wants his Okaisen or Nizan to find out that he was the reason Bawako Saratobi died that night. He messed with things he didn't understand that allowed the ninja to get in. And if he had been where he was supposed to be, she would still be alive today. Banishing the thoughts from his mind, he starts trudging his way to the village. The only thing that kept his feet moving was the fear of hurting his Okayasin by not coming back. He'd already hurt her by not seeing her for weeks, and the last thing he wants is to hurt her like that again. His feet moved without conscious thought, and his eyes struggled to stay open. Luckily, he knew the forests around Konoha like the back of his hand, and his trance-like state brought him to the wall surrounding the village. He leans his head against the wood and curses himself. The gate was about a mile to his right, with the hospital about 1,000 feet in front of him. He neither had the energy to walk around or over this stupid barrier. You'll have to jump it. Kurama mutters, worried. The coils in your legs have the least amount of damage. Naruto shifts the Uchiha to a more secure position before taking a deep breath and jumping. His muscles cramp after clearing the wall, and he collapses with a cry. His legs go numb after all the pain. He breathes deeply, trying to recenter himself. He was so close. He couldn't give up now. He crawls forward, not caring that Sasuke's head was being dragged through the mud until he reached a crate he could use to haul himself back up. His vision fades to black, and he wills himself not to pass out until the world comes back into focus. The rain runs into his eyes as he looks to the hospital and begins his 1,000-foot journey. Stumbling into the hospital, the lights assault his eyes, and he tries not to vomit. He hears the doctors and nurses cry Sasuke's name before gently taking the traitor off his shoulders and putting him onto a gurney before rushing off. I need to see a doctor too. Naruto tries to tell the nurse at the desk. Being too tired to start an argument he wouldn't win, and knowing he'd heal eventually, just not soon, he tilts his head and listens for any sign of his friends. He walks towards Shikamaru's and Temari's voice, wincing once Shikaku starts to lecture him. Naruto's head throbs as he turns the corner and sees his friend trying not to cry. Naruto, he calls, shocked at the appearance of the blonde. The zipper to his black jacket was torn, leaving the top half of his coat open and blood barely visible against the black clothing. Mission successful. He forces a smile, collapsing on a bench. The doctors are seeing to Sasuke now. Shikaku takes a concerned step forward as the doors to Choji's hospital room open. Tsunade is rubbing her head as she looks down at the chart. It's all right now. She rolls her shoulders, knowing that the tension would be released until her baby was back in her arms. I used the special drug-mixing manual from the Nara clan to create an antidote that... It was then that she looked up into the pain-filled eyes of her son. He smiles at her as his eyes closed, and he slumps down on the bench. Blood smears against the wall behind him. Okami, she's over him in a flash, her healing chakra already coaxing his injury closed. Don't worry, baby. You're going to be okay. Tsunade's heart is in her throat, and she doesn't see the two Naras looking between the blondes. My chakra coils are shot, so I wasn't able to heal myself. He whispers. His eyes are too heavy to stay open anymore. Don't worry, baby. One of her hands moves to his hair to comfort him. I'm going to make sure you'll be okay. I can stay with you tonight, right? He asks, only staying awake long enough to hear her answer. Always, baby. Tsunade presses 2 fingers to her son's wrist and relishes the tap, 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 tap of his heartbeat before placing it back on crisp white sheets. Her hands move to check the bandages on his chest and trace the scars that have turned pink. She grabs his hand with both of hers and holds it, unable to force her eyes from tracing his face. It's been 48 hours, and he still hasn't woken up yet. Not that she's surprised. Most people would be out for at least a week after expending as much chakra as Naruto did. She longed to see his azure eyes light up as he smiles at her. Her baby has such beautiful eyes. She doesn't move when she feels someone enter the room, having recognized the chakra signature. How's he doing? He's still sleeping. Tsunade glances over at Asuma, and her eyes are drawn to several albums in his hands. Well, he gives the albums a reminiscent smile. Naruto asked me not to give these to you, but he hands her the first album, and she sees a picture of a familiar baby and an inked footprint. The rest of his words are lost on her as she cracks the cover open. The first picture is taken at the hospital. His little head is a dark blue cap with tiny ears, and he's swaddled in a white blanket. The caption read 6. 2 pounds and 18 inches. Tsunade turns the page, and her eyes take in every detail and word on the pages. She didn't think Buwako Sarutobi could give her a greater gift than raising and protecting her son, but it seems like the old woman had different ideas. Every moment of her baby's life was documented. She even has clippings from his first haircut. Out of the corner of her eye, she sees more albums being handed to her. There are more? Her voice cracks, and she wants to cry with gratitude. Kazan took a lot of pictures. He explains while handing the last book to her. The old man wasn't as good at taking pictures, but I was able to gather some together for you. Clutching all 6 books to her chest, she smiles up at him. Thank you. You can't imagine what this means to me. Asuma sits on the other side of their favorite blonde, and his fingers twitch for a cigarette. He was a pretty cute kid. I'm glad you get to see that. He was also glad that the old man took pictures. One of his biggest regrets is missing watching Naruto grow up a few years away. The two sat in silence before Asuma gets up to go, leaving Tsunade to pore over the pictures. He looks like he was such a happy child in the first few albums. His smiles are wide and he's acting silly. He must have been a handful for Buwako Sensei to chase around. It was in the last album that she saw things starting to change. His smile seemed forced. He looked angry and resentful. He's skinnier, and she can tell that he's not eating right. She hopes he's happier now. At least he seems happier to her. Looking at all the pictures reminds her that she needs to get one of her own with him. She'll have Shizen go out and buy a camera when she brings the next stack of paperwork. Tsunade's thoughts are interrupted when she feels the chakra signature of her teammate at the window. I have some bad news, Haim. When do you ever bring good news? She puts the albums down and grabs Naruto's hand again. I just got word that the man responsible for release the QB 12 years ago is coming after Naruto now. I'll kill him if he tries. Tsunade vows and gives the old pervert a hard glare as if he should know better. It's not just him. He's gathering several S-class ninja to help him, he warns. And this is the guy that took out Kushina Uzumaki. He's not someone to be underestimated. Naruto is going to need a lot more training if he is going to stand a chance when they come after him. Tsunade takes a deep breath, trying not to lose her temper in her child's recovery room. Where are you getting at, Jiraiya? I want to take Naruto on a 3-year training trip. He explains, ready to run at a moment's notice if things go south. We'll stay on the move, so they won't be able to find us, and I'll teach him everything I know. It's his only chance. Tsunade's eyes flash, ready to bite off his head, but she's interrupted before she can. I don't want to leave. Naruto squeezes Tsunade's hand, and she looks into the eyes she's missed so much. I know I have a lot to learn, but I could do it all here. Asuma Nizan is teaching me Wind Ninjutsu. Gai Sensei is helping me improve my Taijutsu. All of Mito Obasan Fuinjutsu books here, and Naruto hesitates, his eyes unsure when he looks at Tsunade through his hair. You'll help me with water and earth ninjutsu, right? Yes. Tsunade can't help but rush. I can help with taijutsu, fuinjutsu, medical ninjutsu, and developing your fire and light leases. She brushes his bangs out of his eyes. There's so much I want to teach you. Naruto blushes and gives her the smile she loves. I'm looking forward to that. Naruto walked down the steps of the prison with his Okayasen by his side. He can still feel her fuming, and he can't really blame her. All his life, the council has done everything in their power to make his life a living hell. But now that their precious Uchiha needed a seal master, they all order him to help. He smiles, remembering how as soon as they voiced their request, her face had turned as red as the Hokage building. She let out a massive amount of killing intent and starting yelling at them. She probably wouldn't have stopped yelling for a few hours, but he placed his hand on her shoulder. The blood vessel in her forehead was thundering when she turned to him, but her eyes and voice held none of the contempt she was previously showing the council. It amazed him how, no matter how angry she was before looking or talking him, she never showed any of that derision to him. He agreed to look at the team's curse seal because that's what he would want someone to do for him. Afterward, he would have to consult Mito Obasan as he still hasn't reached her level of mastery, but he was sure they could come up with something. He glances at his Okayasen and can't help but wonder if it was time to tell her about Kurama, Mito Obasan, and his search for Kushina in his head. Plus, if he told her, Mito Obasan would stop nagging him about it. Sometimes he hated having so many people in his head. Strangely enough, he's perfectly calm. His biggest antagonizer is now behind bars and is no longer a threat to him. It was a freeing feeling. His life was finally turning around. He has an Okayasin and an Onizen that love him. And it seems like their feelings are mellowing out the hatred in the villagers. That could also be because they fear how his Okayasin will retaliate if they act out against him. Either way, he can't imagine his life better than how it is now. He is everything he has ever wanted. We're here to see the Uchiha prisoner. Tsunade glares at the guard as if it was his fault they were here. Naruto can see the beads of sweat forming on his brow when he stammers acquisition and moves to the side. Naruto grabs the sleeve of the Hokage's green coat before she can open the door. "You don't have to come in." A second of hurt flashes in her eyes before being hidden. While he didn't mean to hurt her, he also doesn't want Sasuke to think he needs a bodyguard. "I can handle Sasuke myself, if you're sure." She cautions and runs her fingers through his hair. He leans into the touch. Affectionate touches have been something he missed after his obeison died. After that, every touch became a beating, and every beating came with broken bones. It is amazing how much he craves all of the little gestures she gives him. "I'm sure," he affirms. She hesitates before giving him a smile. He smiles back before entering the room where Sasuke is waiting. The Uchiha is sitting chained to a chair in the middle of the room, and the black ink of his seal shows in stark contrast against his paper white skin. He had thought that it was impossible for the Uchiha to be paler than he had been, but it seems like 3 months without sunlight proved him wrong. The boy looks thin, and his angry expression only makes him appear sicker than he already looks. He has purple bags under his pitch-black eyes, and his clothes are wrinkled and dirty like he fought the guards as they brought him here and chained him down. "What are you doing here, Dobe?" he asks, and Naruto can see the strain in his shoulders as he tries to break free. "Are they locking you up here too?" Naruto steps closer to the prison to get a better look at the cursed seal. "The council has asked me looking at this seal and see if I can remove it." The blonde hums in thought as he examines the markings. It was an interesting seal. There were no technical components, and it was almost impossible to decipher any of the details. "What did you possibly do, Dobe?" "Shasuke Spitz. You can barely find your way out of paper. There is no way you can figure out something as complex as Fuinjutsu." Naruto smirks as he performs some hand seals and places his palm over the cursed seal. He can feel his chakra flowing into Sasuke's skin as it takes the form of kanji. "I think you've forgotten that I'm the one who created and applied that seal to your forehead." He removes his head to examine what his diagnostic seal has discovered. His eyes roam the seal, and his eyes widen at what he finds. Each tome has a specific purpose. One gathers the Uchiha's chakra, siphoning it off to what Naruto assumes is another seal, while holding nature chakra from the same source. Another tome allows Orochimaru to control Sasuke's actions and abilities. The level of layering left Naruto to wonder just how much control Orochimaru has over his victims' actions. The third tome was tied to the other two, keeping them regulated and giving them access to Sasuke's chakra network. It was so inwoven to his chakra system that removing it could cause permanent damage. "We both know that was a dirty trick, and you got lucky." He bites and jerks away from Naruto. "There is no way that I would lose to you in a fair fight." Naruto quirks his brow while tilting his head. "Why did you try to leave the village anyway?" It wasn't something he could understand. Sasuke had everything he didn't. Everyone in the village cared about him, and everyone wanted to be his friend. There wasn't a person that didn't want to help him, and people sought him out so they could train him. It was by his choice that he was all alone. You wouldn't understand. Sasuke spits and glares at him. "You don't know what it's like to lose everything, to be alone. My brother took everything from me. I will not rest until I take his life from him." Naruto takes a step back and glares at the Uchiha. "Well, I didn't lose my entire clan. I do know what it's like to lose everything. My entire clan was wiped out before I was even born. When the QB attacked, I was separated from my Okayasin and had to grow up without her. When I was a kid, my obeison died, protecting me, and Onizen left in his grief. I grew up being hunted down by the village and barely surviving day to day. Don't try to make me feel sorry for you." His lips curl in a snarl. "My Otusin told me all about you. How you tore your breeder apart so you could destroy Konoha. How Bawako Sarutobi discovered how evil you are so you killed her to keep your secrets, and Asuma couldn't live in the same village as his Okayasin's killer. so he left. The maniacal look in Sasuke's mind told him just how psychologically damaged he'd been inflicted with growing up. All the villagers were just trying to finish what the fourth started all those years ago, when he sealed you in the form of a baby. Your Otusen and Onizen really did number on you. Naruto states, and his temper raises at the insult to his mother. Shut up. His eyes blazed in fury. The only reason you're not in here with me is because of that whore of a Hokage. Naruto reacts without thinking, and his mother's temper showing itself. The idea of anyone disrespecting his Okayasen filled him with more rage than he's ever felt before. He grabs the back of the team's head and slams his head into the steel table. He can feel Kurama's chakra rising up inside him and begging to be let out. It was one of the things that were hard about being the QB Jinchuriki. Whenever he got angry, the beast inside him rose up to destroy whoever was the recipient of his rage. He lifts Sasuke's head back up and is about to slam it back down when he gets a good look at the table. There's a huge crater in the steel that is slowly filling with blood that leaks from the hole that was torn in the center. The shock of seeing the red again, gray, it causes him to let go of his hair and take several steps back. Medical ninja and guards rush into the room to unlock Sasuke and take him to the medical wing. He watches without seeing, due to the disappointment he was feeling in himself. He had planned on not letting whatever the team said get to him. After all, he thought he'd already heard it all. Someone he loved being attacked because of him was a new low he'd never experienced before and was something he never wanted to feel again. Hearing someone speak about his Okayasen like that makes him sick. It made him want to fight anyone and everyone that thinks of her in a bad light. Council members rush into the room after his Okayasen and start yelling as she stands in front of him as a shield. He watches his faces turn red and spit flies from mouths. The concentration of negative emotions in the room directed at him causes his head to spin. They crash into him like a hurricane, and it's all he can do to keep his head above water. He grabs the green Haori in front of him, and his eyes find the only face in the room that is calm. Shikaku kind eyes find Naruto's, and he gives him a minuscule smile as he leans against the wall. The Nara family were one of the few people in the village that never treated him like the demon everyone else thought he was. Shikaku even saved him from an angry mob, which resulted in his facial scarring. The man opens his mouth, but Naruto can't hear him through the rushing in his ears. He leans toward his mother and rests his cheek against her back. Sometimes he wished they could leave the village and go to a place where no one knew them and no one hated him. Then he wouldn't have to worry about people finding out that he is her son and taking it out on her. That is one of his greatest fears. What if people found out and started treating his Okayasen like a demon too? He would never be able to forgive himself. His vision is absorbed by pale skin and blonde hair after everyone leaves the room. His blue eyes find Honey, and he can't help but wonder why exactly she defends him. Her reactions to people saying or doing horrible things to him just doesn't make any sense because no one has acted this way towards him. Was it because she loved him? Her hand cups his cheek, and she asks if he's okay. His heart swells in his chest, and he gives her a timid smile. It makes him realize that he's never told her 3 simple words despite her telling him every day. He opens his mouth to say them, but he chokes on the voices whispering in his head, telling him that something bad will happen if he says it. He told his Obasan he loved her, and she died. He told Asuma he loved him, and he left. He made the mistake of saying he loved the 3rd Hokage when he was a child, and a mob came after him. It was safer if he didn't say anything, so instead of saying the words at the tip of his tongue, he tells her he's okay instead. Naruto lays down on the grass in Training Ground 7 and looks at the clouds. His thoughts are brought back to Sasuke. For some reason, his father twisted everything that happened to suit his own needs, and his brother didn't do anything better. It was like what the village did to him, but worse because it was coming from family. He can never imagine his Okayasen saying something like that to him. She is always trying to build him up and help him become a better person, while Sasuke's family tore him down and molded him into the person they wanted him to be. It makes him wonder what Sasuke's mom had been like. Did she try to heal the damage that was being inflicted on him, or did she help her son? He doesn't bother to move when he feels a familiar chakra signature enter the clearing and cast a shadow over him. Naruto looks up into the laziest face he's ever met, before Shikamaru collapses next to him on the grass. The Chunin releases a huge sigh. Just when I thought you couldn't be more troublesome, you find a way. Naruto turns his head to look at the shadow user and snorts. What'd I do this time? You are the son Tsunade, Senju, and Minato Namikaze. Shikamaru huffs, and Naruto doesn't even bother to panic. It was only a matter of time before the Nara figured it out, and he's only surprised he didn't do it sooner. Are you going to tell the rest of the village before the Hokage puts everyone in the hospital after she hears the rumors? Shikamaru turns his head towards Naruto, and the blonde scrunches his nose in disgust. It makes every hair on his body stand on edge and his stomach turn. He can only imagine his Okayasen's reaction if she ever finds out, and he prays to Kami she never does. Luckily, the entire village is smart enough to know that their Hokage should never be told. I'm not sure what people will do if they find out. The Nara hums. Reactions would probably vary widely. A lot would probably be ashamed of what they did to their princess son, while others would be offering marriage proposals. Panic starts to creep in on Naruto, thinking about having a woman in his life, but he pushes it away. I don't want to get married anytime soon, and even if I was, I don't think she would let me. I have noticed she's a little protective of you. Most of the shopkeepers start to shake whenever they hear your name now. That one Jonin was hospitalized when he called me a demon, too. Naruto muses, and Shikamaru grunts a troublesome. So much about his life has changed since that day in the bar. When he was little, he would sit on the swings and watch moms play with their kids and give them kisses and hugs. The cousins hold their kids' hand when they walk down the street and hold them in their arms or lap when they are tired. It was something he's always wanted, and now that he has, it's terrified of losing it. The two friends sit in silence while Naruto works up the nerves to ask his next question. It's been something he's wanted to know for a long time, but has been too scared to ask anyone. Do you think cousins ever stop loving their kids? He has so many secrets, and in his eyes, each one has the ability to make the life they build implode on itself. Shikamaru is quiet as he looks at the billowing clouds. If anyone knew if that was possible, it would be the Nara. Naruto has heard many stories over the years about how Shikamaru would do something that would incur his mother's wrath, but the story has never extended to what happens after. How long does it take until moms start to resent their kids? How long does it take until they're just done? No, I don't think moms have it in them. His voice is unusually serious and doesn't hold any of its usual long suffering. No matter what you do or what you say, they will always be there. They forgive you when you do something wrong and try to take care of you even when you don't want them to. Shikamaru looks over to Naruto and looks him in the eyes. Your mom even more so. She has a scary, violent temper with everyone, but you. I've never seen her get mad at you. The blonde narrows his eyes in thought. You spent weeks calling her an old hag, and she doesn't do anything. That new guy, Sai, calls her old once, and she punts him through her window and over the south gate. The whiskered ninja grins at the memory of a body soaring through the skies, making Shikamaru roll his eyes. Troublesome blondes. Naruto laughs a little before sobering. What if you do something really big? Something that would really hurt them if they ever find out? A comfortable silence surrounds them as Naruto watches Shikamaru, thinking out his response. Even then, I don't think they stop loving you. I think it would make them sad and maybe a little mad, but that would be it. Shikamaru breaks eye contact and looks up at the sky. I think they would be more upset if they find out from someone else, though. I always got in less trouble when I told my Kachin what I did rather than her, just finding out. Naruto contemplates what he's going to do as he fingers his Kachin's necklace. Maybe telling her won't be so bad. Maybe she'll understand it was an accident and forgive him. Maybe then nothing will change if he just tells her. She might hold him like she did when she told him about the night he was born. He loves when she does that. Maybe he'll tell Soma too. The voices in his head start to get loud and causes whatever confidence he gained to wither and die. He'd tell them eventually, just not know. After all, he had time. Naruto smiles as he watches Konohamaru and the gang train. Ever since the gang had caught him training with his Okayasen several months ago, they insisted that he train them. It was something that he found he enjoyed doing. There was something about teaching another person a skill that called to him. Maybe after he became a Chunin, he would ask for a teaching position at the Ninja Academy. Boss! Boss! Konohamaru calls, pointing at his forehead. I'm doing it. Naruto smiles, seeing the leaf stuck to the boy's forehead despite how much he was running around. Good job, kid. He picks up another leaf and hands it to the boy. Try getting two to stick now. We're going to have to build up your chakra reserves before we can start on the more advanced chakra control exercises. The three of them cheer in unison and continue their exercises. He loved to watch them train and grow. It was like he was growing right along with them. Having to explain how to do an exercise made him think about it in another way and help him to understand the concept more. For example, having to explain how to make the leaf balance against their forehead gave him a new idea on how to blend his earth and water releases together to finally control his would release consciously. Naruto sits in the lotus position after taking a seed out of his pocket. He holds the seed between his hands and closes his eyes. Taking slow, practiced breaths, he reaches the center of his calm, pleased that it came to him so quickly. Some days it take him hours to find peace within himself. There were times it was hard for him to quit all the voices in his head telling him he wasn't enough, and the things the bullies have told him all his life are true. Ever since his Okayasen had come back into his life, it had gotten easier. Some days, like today, he can hear her voice in his head fighting all his demons. She was relentless in saying he is good, he is loved, and he is important. At night, his voices get even louder, and sometimes they keep him from falling asleep. It was these nights that he snuck into his Okayasen's room and under the covers. She never questions him and just welcomes him with open arms. Smelling her perfume, hearing her heartbeat, and feeling her strong arms around him gave strength to her voice in his head. She kisses his forehead and strokes his hair until he falls asleep. Something about her kept his recurring nightmares away and just made him feel safe. Refocusing himself, he begins to channel his earth and water chakra. Before, he always let the chakra flow like a river, similar to when he practiced water walking or tree climbing, and the two fought for dominance until one smothered the other. This time he makes the chakra lighter, almost like a fog, and tries to get the two to swirl together. When the different chakra natures refuse to mesh, he experiments with different ratios, knowing that at some point the two will eventually have to combine. It was only after an hour that he finally feels his chakra start to interweave together. He smiles as he channels the chakra into the seed in his hands. He feels it start to wiggle, and soon enough his palm starts to tickle. Looking down, he cracks his hand open and sees a little sprout peeking out at him. His sense of accomplishment is almost overwhelming, and he feels a compelling urge to go show his Okayasen. She would be as proud of him now as she was when he finally mastered the IWA no Yoroi technique. It was when he was contemplating ending their training session that hair on the back of Naruto's neck rises. Manic excitement and an overwhelming aura of death breaks through the tree line, so strong that the three ninja academy students fall to the ground and quake in fear. The man has slick back gray hair and brown eyes. A headband marking him as a rogue ninja from the Yugakure is wrapped around his neck. His black cloak is open, showing off his Jashinism necklace with gray shinobi pants. A huge red sickle on a chain is held loosely in his hands, and a sickeningly smile is plastered on his face. Naruto falls back into a fighting stance and doesn't let his eyes leave the shinobi's figure. Konomaru, Moegi, Udon, Naruto takes a kunai out of his holster. I need you to run back to the village as fast as you can to get help. Luckily, they listened and took off. You just had to choose the training ground furthest from the village. Kurama grumbles as he sits up. I haven't seen a priest of Jashin in over a century. I thought they'd been killed off years ago. If only we were that lucky, Naruto thinks, eyeing the sickle. You want to avoid that at all cost. Even one nick will give him the power to kill you. Kurama warns, and Naruto gives his thanks. One good thing about being a Jinchuriki is that he has a being that has been around as long as the ninja arts to impart his wisdom and experience. He doesn't want to know where he'd be without him. Naruto Uzumaki. The man tastes the name on his tongue. I've been sent to collect you for a friend. It seems strange to me that a priest Jashin is taking a job as a mercenary. Naruto hedges, trying to buy time. He just needs to last long enough for reinforcements to come. You know about Jashin? The glint in his eyes makes Naruto want to recoil, only a little here and there. Anger washes over Naruto at his answer. And here I hoped I'd found another believer. I hope your death doesn't disappoint me as much as your life. He steps forward, and Naruto fights the urge to take a mirrored step back. You haven't answered my question. Why is a priest of Jashin taking a mercenary job? His smile grows. I'm told that an Uzumaki can survive having a bijou extracted, that their life force is so strong that the things that would kill the strongest Kage only sets them back a week. I would like to see this for myself. So that's all you're getting out of this? It doesn't seem like it's worth the risk of coming here. Once the bijou is removed, I will sacrifice you to Jashin. Offering a life such as yours will be one of the greatest ways to show tribute to him. Naruto didn't even have time to think of him as crazy before the mad priest attacks. Asuma slouches his way across the field. Why his little brother insists on training all the way out here is not something he understands. It was a lot easier to pick one of the training grounds closer to the village, but he always picks the one just outside the walls. He takes a couple of puffs from his cigarette. Naruto wouldn't be his little brother if he ever picked the easy way, though. Too bad he was too excited to wait to give him the news. He wonders if his Otudo will be happy about being an Ajisen. Up until last year, Naruto always tried to avoid children because if he got close to one, their mother would come out of nowhere and start whacking his with newspaper. It was especially sad because when he was little, he always wanted a younger sibling and asked for one all the time. It wasn't until after Okayasen died that he stopped asking. With Konohamaru and his friends, it seems like he's finally found the siblings he's always wanted. He's taken to teaching, playing with, and protecting them like it's something he's always known. It came naturally to the blonde, and he only wishes that it could have happened sooner if Lady Tsunade raised him. After all, she was putty in his hands, and he honestly doesn't know if he would have been able to resist his pleas. His attention is drawn to his little nephew and friends running towards him. The fear on their faces makes his own growth, and a stone settles in his stomach. Asuma Ajisen. Naruto needs help. He shouts, his breath coming in little puffs. His heart is pounding more in terror then because they've been sprinting. A big, scary guy in a black coat showed up, and he had this sword thing that was curved, and Naruto told us to go get help. His eyes are darting everywhere, unable to concentrate on any one thing. Konohamaru, calm down and take a deep breath. He puts his hands on the boy's shoulder. He eyes the boy's equally pale and sweating friends and tries to put his anxiety to the side. What happens? Naruto Nezen is fighting a big, scary guy. His eyes start to water as emotions start to overwhelm his 6-year-old body. He's in trouble, Ajisen. Please help him. It was then that Asuma feels assured of chakra coming from the training ground his Otudo is at, and it isn't a signature he recognizes. Konohamaru, run to the village and alert the Umbu. His nephew blinks away the tears, and his face becomes as hard as a 6-year-old is capable of. Make sure the Hokage is told. We're depending on you. Konohamaru and his friends nod in affirmation and takes off towards the village. Asuma starts sprinting towards where the chakra burst came from. The first time someone came after his brother, he wasn't there to protect him, and the worst happened. He wasn't going to make that mistake again. When he enters the clearing, he can see Naruto bobbing and weaving to avoid the enemy ninja and throwing up a protective barrier using earth, water, and wind jutsu. His Otudo is strong, high Chunin level easily, but there was no way he can defeat a ninja of this caliber. It wasn't hard to recognize him. He was in every nation's bingo book after all, with that huge sickle in his hands. Not much was known about him other than he was a religious fanatic of an unknown religion, and that he killed his entire village. He is an S-ranked shinobi, and all the books said to only engage in groups of 4 or more people. They didn't have a choice right now, though, so he takes the best chance he has. He powers his trench knives and uses a substitution jutsu to appear right behind him. Sensing him, Haiden turns his head with a huge grin plastered on his face. Asuma doesn't hesitate to cut off the man's head. His head lands a foot away as the body falls to its body. Asuma flickers over to his brother, grabbing arms and looking him over. He doesn't appear to be hurt and is only roughed up a little and panting. He smiles at the boy and laughs a little. How do you always manage to get yourself into dangerous situations? He ruffles a little in Naruto's sheepish grin. What would you do without me, huh? Asuma. Naruto is interrupted but a scoff. You didn't think it would be that easy, did you? The brothers look over with wide, straining eyes to see Haydn picking up his head and placing it back on his neck, and his feet make a symbol on the ground with his blood. He forms a hand seal and runs his fingers along where flesh meets flesh and the skin stitches itself together. What? Asuma's voice cracks, and he steps in front of Naruto. What he is seeing just doesn't fit in the world he's come to know. How is this possible? Haydn starts cackling, and Naruto's strained voice whispers behind him. He worships Jashin, and he must be a high priest to still be alive. You are amazing. Haydn looks like a child that's just been gifted a pony. You must have been a priest yourself in another life. It's too bad I have to kill you. He contemplates for a second before his eyes light up. I will find your next reincarnation and teach you the ways of Jashin. Together we will be unstoppable. He starts to laugh maniacally, and the tension in his Asuma's body grows. This man is insane, and there is no way they can beat him if the guy can't die. Naruto, I'm going to engage him in hand-to-hand combat. I want you to stay back and use long-range jutsu to assist. Okay, Nizan. Naruto's face hardens in agreement. But whatever you do, don't get hit, not even a scratch. A looming feeling of dread settles above him. He'll use your blood to curse you. Thanks for the warning, Otudo. Asuma grumbles as Naruto leaps away. All he has to do is hold Haydn off for 30 minutes. That is how long it's going to take for Konohamaru to reach the village and Tsunade-sama get here. He grips his knives tighter. He knows he's probably not going to survive this, but he doesn't have a choice. No one's going to hurt his little brother while he is still alive. Tsunade rests her chin in her hand as she taps the pen against the wood surface of her desk. There was a pile of paperwork sitting in front of her, but every cell in her body is rebelling against doing it. The only thing keeping her from leaving is the thought of the wrath Shizen would rain down on her. But she was approaching the point where she was willing to endure it. Maybe if she found her baby boy before Shizen found her, she could get him to give his sister the puppy dog eyes to get her out of trouble. Thinking about her baby made her long to see him. To see the way his eyes, big blue eyes shine when he's showing her a jutsu, or the furrow in his brow when he's concentrating. Her favorite is probably when he wants something and his head turns to the side, his eyes turn down, and he whispers his request. He's always so nervous when he asks her anything. If only he knew she will give him the world. All he has to do is ask. She loves the way his eyes always widen in surprise when she says yes. It makes him look so young, and as the child she's seen in pictures. She can't help but pull him into her arms and kiss his head. He always takes a second to lean in and wrap his arms around her. Then he'll let out the breath he's holding and nestle closer. It is moments like those that she wishes she could live in forever. The day he doesn't accept her affection as easily will be the day a part of her heart breaks. And she prays to Kami that day never comes. She will never be able to make up for all the time, hugs, kisses, and cuddles she's missed. It has only made her more determined to be there with him every day for the rest of her life. Her eyes find the pictures on her desk, and she couldn't be happier that Asuma gave her all the albums her senseis had created as Naruto grew up. A picture of a baby Naruto gumming his stuffed frog's leg is one of her favorites, next to pictures of Naruto entering and graduating from the academy. Her number one favorite is one of the two of them together. He's standing in front of her, and her right arm is wrapped around his shoulder. She's leaning over his shoulder to give him a kiss on the cheek, and his cheeks are flushed with embarrassment. His cute little nose is scrunched, but he's still leaning into her. She couldn't be happier that Shizune had been there with a camera that day to capture the moment. She's brought out of her thoughts when Umbu flashes in front of her desk with a child in his arms. The little boy is wearing a blue scarf around his neck, and if she remembers correctly, has taken to stalking her son in an effort to learn Naruto's secret techniques. Hokage-sama, Konohamaru. You gotta hurry, old lady. He rushes out. The vein in her forehead twitches and her eyes flash with fire at the reference to her age. She's about to let him have it when his words make her blood freeze. Naruto Nizan and Asuma Ajisen are in trouble. A big scary guy came out of the forest and they need help. Asuma Ajisen said, I had to tell you. Tears start falling from his dark eyes and his voice trails off. Please save them. Her eyes dart to the Umbu, and she doesn't have to say anything for him to know what she wants to know. Training Ground 23. Tsunade doesn't wait another second before she's out the window and moving as fast as possible to get to her son. Two squads of Umbu and several ninja that saw her burst out of the Hokage follow her. She can hear the Nara air asking what's going on, but she just speeds up. There is no time to answer questions when her son's life is on the line. Naruto lets out another Suidun, Fumamizu shuriken, and watches as he finally lands on Haiden. The man's face is consumed with rage as he faces the genin. I don't have time for this. He takes off towards Naruto. The blonde ignores Asuma's cry and runs through a set of hand seals that Asuma himself taught him. Katan, Goen no Jutsu. He yells before spitting out a stream of fire from his mouth. Haiden performs a backflips to avoid the fire and lands behind Asuma. Naruto cancels the jutsu to avoid hitting his brother as Haiden swings his scythe. Asuma brings his trench knives up to block it, and Naruto's eyes widen when he realizes his trench knife are too close to his face. The scythe barely nicks his skin, but Naruto knows it's more than enough. He runs his hands through the hand seals for a Kaze Jirai no Jutsu when he sees Asuma finishing his own signs. He screams at him to stop, but the ash is already blowing out of his mouth, and he clenches his jaw, and the flame is lit. As soon as the flames die, Naruto sprints into action and tries to force Haiden out of the symbol on the ground. Out of the corner of his eye, he watches Asuma fall to the ground, and his limbs take on frenzied movements. Not being able to perform any attacks puts him at a real disadvantage, and Haiden is ready to take advantage. Naruto knows it's over when he feels Haiden skewer him like a dango, which keeps him locked on the ground. His breaths come in wheezes as maniacal laughter fills the clearing. His eyes find the brown of his brother's, and despite the third-degree burns on his body, he smiles. You're going to be an Ajizan, Otudo. His voice rumbles out, and Naruto's eyes burn. Kurenai is pregnant. Will you take care of both of them for me? Happiness for his brother fills Naruto. The love he feels for the Genjutsu mistress has always been obvious. His eyes light up when he takes about her, and the moment he sees her, he grows the biggest smile. With my life, you're entrusting the life of your unborn brat to the wrong person. Haiden laughs. After I kill you, he's next. I'll have the QB ripped out of him, and then I will sacrifice his life to Jashin. It will be magnificent. Haiden positions his skewer on his chest, ready to push the blade into his heart. Asuma himself chuckles, and Haiden narrows his eyes at him. You find dying funny? I was just trying to delay you until his Kachin comes. Haiden's eyes dart between the two. He's heard stories of Konoha's Jinchuriki, and none of his intel said anything about family. Who's his Kachin? The fifth Hokage, Tsunade Senju. Naruto's voice is deeper, and Kurama's chakra starts swirling inside him. Rage he hasn't felt before consuming him, and he can feel his control fraying, and it scares him. Losing control could get him killed and release Kurama, but he has to do something. Shit. Haiden looks towards the village and knows that he's been here too long. He can feel chakra signatures in the distance coming towards him, and he knows it's time to end this. Naruto watches Haiden push the skewer into his chest, and something inside him just snaps. When Tsunade sees a pillar of red chakra shoot into the sky, she pushes her legs faster. A voice in her head tells her that she's too late. The last time she saw chakra like this was the QB was extracted from Kushina, and unlike the Uzumaki, that isn't something her baby can survive. When she enters the clearing, she sees a mass of red chakra running off into the forest. When she sees Asuma laying on the ground, she calls to Shizen to tend to his injuries. She follows after bundle of red. Demonic chakra and terror fills her at the boom she hears. It takes several minutes, but she finally catches up to her baby. The chakra around his body is thick enough that she can't make out his features. 6 tails of demonic chakra are coming off the skeletal frame that is forming around him. He's on all fours, as if he is becoming a fox himself, and is crouched over a body laughing maniacally beneath him. Yes, kill me. Haiden coughs up blood and looks up at Naruto like a god. He has never come this close to death before. His legs have been vaporized, and his left arm was crushed to dust several minutes ago. I've been waiting so long for this. Help Jashin grant his final gift to me. Tsunade watches, eyes wide, as her son powers a QB chakra bomb at point-blank range and unleashes it on the man, decimating him in an instant. She crosses her arms in front of her to help absorb the sonic blast from the release of chakra. Channeling chakra to her feet, she manages not to be blasted back like some of the other ninjas that had followed her. The dust has billowed around them, and she squints to try and see through the particles. She could just barely make out his figure, and watching her baby body, he throw back his head and power another QB chakra bomb. The pain radiating off here, son, is crippling as another blast shoots into the sky, and she can't fight the urge anymore to try to comfort him and help him regain control over his bijou. She jumps forward and wraps her arms around him, ignoring the chakra burns she's receiving. It's over, baby. She holds him closer to her chest and is relieved when she feels the QB's chakra returning to the seal. The skeletal frame crumbles and blows away, and she can finally see her baby in all the chakra. All of his skin has peeled away, and his eyes are glowing red with slits for pupils. His body is shuddering, and she lowers herself to the ground and brings him onto her lap. She channels healing chakra into her hands, but it doesn't seem to be helping her child recover. An Umbu appears beside them on one knee with his head bowed. Tsunade-sama, Shizen-san was unable to heal Asuma-san. I'm afraid he's passed. Naruto stills, and Tsunade makes a hand gesture to dismiss the Umbu. Her son wrenches out of her arms. His shaking becomes overwhelming as he holds himself while avoiding his raw skin. It's all my fault. If we'd been training closer to the village, this wouldn't have happened. If I had just gone with him in the first place, Asuma wouldn't be dead. It's not your fault, sweetheart. Tsunade tries to bring him back into a comforting embrace, but he jerks away from her and turns around. It is my fault. If it wasn't for me, he'd still be alive. His eyes widen, and he looks sick when he sees all her burns. I hurt you. Tsunade holds her hands up in a placating gesture as she watches something break in her son's crimson eyes. Naruto, in a feat that would only be accomplished by using Bijou Chakra, Naruto disappears from sight and leaves Tsunade with a hole in her heart. She tries to expand her senses and pick up on his chakra signature, but she finds nothing. That has always been something her baby has been good at hiding when he doesn't want to be found. But today is not the day he was going to get his way. She chases after him. Her only idea of where he could have gone was something Asuma told her about a few weeks ago. He'd been concerned that Naruto would have a panic attack when he wasn't in the village to help him through it, so he told her where she would be able to find him. Tsunade lands at the entrance to the graveyard, and her eyes automatically fall to her beautiful baby boy whose body is shuddering with sobs. She approaches slowly, so he doesn't take off again, and her heart breaks when she hears what he's saying. I'm sorry, Obasan. I'm sorry. It's all my fault. It should have been me. Her son is curled beside Buwako's grave, and he doesn't seem to realize she's here. I didn't mean to kill you and Nizan. It was an accident. I don't know how I do it. Everyone I love dies. I should just leave so no one else gets hurt. It was then that Tsunade fell down beside him and gathered her baby in her arms. You aren't going anywhere. Naruto huddles over his mother's lap and cries. Tsunade leans over to be as close to him as possible as she rocks him back and forth. She doesn't bother to say anything because nothing she says can make it better. Nothing she says will bring Asuma back to life, and Naruto's too distraught to listen to her anyway. She holds him until her knees ache. Her back feels like it would hurt less if she ripped her spine out, and her baby falls asleep. Tsunade adjusts Naruto in her arms until his arms are wrapped around her neck and his legs are around her waist. She holds his head to her neck and takes him home. He sleeps like the dead and stays that way when she removes his clothes and bandages his raw skin. After she finishes, she tends to her own burns and changes her clothes. From the bathroom, she can hear whimpering coming from the room. She crawls into bed when he starts to mumble and pulls him into her arms again. She hums a tune that her Obasan used to sing to hum to her when she was a child with a nightmare and felt him slowly relax and fall into a deeper sleep. When Naruto wakes up, it's early morning and his cousin is still holding him. He presses his nose closer to her skin and she holds him tighter and starts to stroke his hair. He dreads what is coming next, but he knows it needs to happen. He never told Asuma, and now he will never know if his Nizan would have forgiven him, and he's not going to make the same mistake twice. He pulls back a little and scoots up in bed so he can rest his forehead against hers. I need to tell you something. You can tell me anything, Naruto. She starts to rub his back, and for some reason, the action along with the nickname makes what he's going to say harder. He knows there's a good chance that after he tells her everything that she is never going to try and comfort him like this again. She might even leave him. I was the reason Obasan died. The words are hard to choke out, and he unconsciously leans close to her, seeking comfort she is ready to give. I was messing with the protection seals around the house, and I broke them. I didn't say anything, and when I tried to fix them that night, I wasn't where I was supposed to be when a ninja broke in, so Obasan wasn't able to get us out of the house. He stabbed her, and when he moved to grab me, I killed him. He takes a deep breath and can't stand to bring his eyes up to meet hers, so he rushes forward. But that's not everything. I'm friends with Kurama, and Mito Obasan is in my head. I found Kushin and Ichin yesterday, when I lost control yesterday. If I had gone with hiding yesterday, then Asuma wouldn't have died. I should have just gone with him. Naruto clutches his cousin's shirt, and he can feel his heart starting to beat out of control. I'm sorry. I'm such a disappointment, and that I can't do anything right. I'm sorry. I know you hate me now, but please, please don't leave me. Please don't leave me. He takes several deep breaths as her hand falls out of his hair, and he's prepared to be pushed away. After all, it's happened his entire life. His heart begins to shatter, and he shuts his puffy eyes tight, not wanting to see the look on her face when she stops loving him. Tsunade's hand cups his bandaged cheek and kisses his forehead, swollen eyes, nose, and cheeks. Naruto cracks his eyes open in confusion and searches her honey brown eyes. They didn't hold any of the emotions he thought they should, like anger, rage, hate, or disgust. Instead, they were sad, tired, and filled with affection. I love you, Naruto. Her thumb runs along with his whiskers, and the arm around his back brings them closer. Nothing will ever change that, and nothing will ever make me leave you. My love for you isn't conditional, baby. You don't hate me? His voice is small and broken as relief starts to overcome him. I could never hate you. Emotions overwhelm Naruto, and he pushes forward, which makes Tsunade fall on her back. He nuzzles in her neck and holds her as tight as possible. Her hand finds his hair, and she kisses his temple. I have some questions, though. Are you feeling up to answering them? Naruto nods his head against her neck, having no intention of moving anytime soon. Tsunade runs her fingers through his hair while stroking his back. First, I want you to know that you were in no way at fault for Asuma's and Bawako's death. Forces outside of your and their control were at play, and the only people at fault are the people that initiated the situation. I messed with the seals. Naruto mumbled into his Ka-san. You were a 5-year-old child, baby. Even if you had opened the door for him, it wouldn't be your fault, and I can guarantee Bawako-sensei didn't blame you for what happened. I can tell how much she loved you. If I had told Asuma, do you think he would have blamed me? Naruto is completely still waiting for an answer. It was something he's always been torn about, but has been too scared to say anything. No, baby. He wouldn't blame you. Nothing about what happened was your fault. A tear squeezes out of Naruto's eye as he allows himself to believe his Ka-san and relish the relief she is bringing him. Thank you. Tsunade kisses his temple again and brings the blanket that had been around their waist up to her son's shoulders. Can you explain a little more about what you mean by saying Mito Obasan and Kushina-chan are in your head? Naruto squirms a little with nerves and starts to play with Tsunade's hair. Because they were Jinchurikis before me, they left chakra imprints on Kurama. It took a really long time, but I was able to find the imprints, and now I talk to them. She lets out a slow breath. Kurama, is the QB? Naruto nods against her. You a friend with it? He can feel the tension start to fill her body, and he tries to reassure her. I met him when I was a kid. He was really angry at first, but we talked a lot, and eventually he calmed down when I made his cage nicer. He's been really helpful when I was learning water release and Fuinjutsu. He also tells me what he knows about. Like he told me about you, the sperm donor, and enemies. If I ever get caught in a Jinjutsu, he releases me. He's become my best friend. The tension stays in her body, and she just holds him tighter. What does Mito Obasan and Kushina-chan say about this? Naruto would have squirmed again if the grip his cousin had on him allowed for it. Well, I just found Kushina-chan, so she's not so happy about it yet. Mito Obasan took a couple of weeks, but now she doesn't lecture me about it anymore. Tsunade's lips twerked upwards, remembering when her Obasan used to lecture her. She would squat down to eye level and hold her face, and after she was finished, she would squeeze her cheeks and tell her she was loved. Obasan lectures you? And nags. Naruto scrunches up his nose. She's been telling me to talk to you about all this for a long time. Does she now? Tsunade fights a laugh while leaning her head against her babies, and she stretches my cheeks out. The two lay there in silence. Tsunade kisses his head every once in a while, and Naruto continues to play with her hair. One of his favorite things to do now is basking in her love for him. Every time he thought she'd turn him away, she surprised him by bringing him closer. He smiles and lifts his head to look at his cousin. Obasan says she loves you. Tsunade smiles into his hair and holds him closer. I love her too. Naruto continues to look at her, and she can see nerves dancing in his eyes. His fists clench her shirt, and she rubs his back trying to calm him. Her little boy opens his mouth several times, but the words escape him. He is all she's ever wanted in life, and there is nothing better than holding him close to her like this. His baby blue eyes were the prettiest she has ever seen, and his coarse golden blonde locks feel like home against her fingers. I love you, baby. She watches as his eyes warm and his fingers lose their tension on her shirt. Ka-chan? Swanda's heart melts, and she knows that she will never take hearing those words for granted. Yes, baby. Naruto glances down and works his bottom lip between his teeth. When his eyes look up again, the love she sees in them almost overwhelms her. Tears prickle behind her eyes as she tires to blink them away. I love you too. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you all are enjoyed this video. If you do, please leave a like, share, and subscribe. Also, don't forget to support author of this fanfic. So let's end this video here. Until then, see you in next video.